Give me just a second here. We have some technical issues. I do not usually use Hangouts. This is actually unannounced as well. So I'm sure I do not have the usual group of people. We had a major, hopefully everybody can hear me too. We had a major update on Windows, and half of my hardware is not working now. I've had many issues trying to get sound. I've been playing around with it since the update. It was basically a massive update for Windows. So if you've got Windows, expect some issues. I'm usually really good at fixing them, but there's just too many things that didn't sync. I had to actually, hopefully everybody can hear me. I had to actually mess with my microphone first, and after I got that, I find that my webcam's down. Many issues. I've had to update firmware to match the new Windows update. So again, it's been one of those days here. I've been working on stuff pretty much on many laptops trying to get this situated. They're all in the same boat. As everybody who does Windows knows, that you update these automatically. Everything updated at once, and they all had the same basic issues, so I couldn't just flip stuff from one to the other. So we are actually on Hangouts, which again, I don't really like Hangouts. We are actually getting a encoder, a hardware encoder, so I won't have to mess with any of this, and it will actually directly record the live feed straight to the ingestion server, so I won't have to go through pretty much any of these other things. So we're actually talking to a consultant this week about it, trying to get the right stuff to all sync together. So you will see some new stuff going on. Again, Windows Update, if you're not up on it, you didn't update yours, you're not set to auto updates, there's some major conflicting issues with the actual app. So OBS is down over it, both versions, Streamlab and OBS. Even my editing software I had to do some stuff with. So this is the worst update I've had issues with. I've never had anything where it set down so many apps and so many pieces of hardware. So again, I literally popped in at the last second and just did the Hangouts. I figured I would have been able to get one of the laptops going with the hardware, but again, they don't sync up with the webcam very well or the microphone. So again, it's been one of those days. I usually don't get very frazzled, but today it's just one of those days where nothing seems to go right. We did get rid of some stuff on a shelf. The last of my clothing went out today, so we are clothing free. I think the only thing I have, no, we got rid of all the clothing. So employees literally came out and we had a bunch of bins, and pretty much half of them were gone just from employees taking it. So that was rather fun. So at least we had some fun that. So anyway, again, I know I usually put out announcements that we're going to have a feed and set up the live event ahead of time. I didn't know what was going to happen with the actual hardware and technical issues. I wasn't even sure if I could get the actual feed to hang out through Google, because again, the hardware had issues. The firmware was out of date once the new Windows update rolled in, so my items didn't match. It was just a rather frustrating issue. Well, thank you, Audrey. I really appreciate that. If you didn't check Audrey on in Patreon, I put some clips in there, and that's going to be part of the next video stuff that goes up. So those clips are actually part of the process. So we're going to touch on those as well too. So if you get a chance, take a look at that. Everybody says it does sound good. Yeah, if you like it, like it. Of course, we love when you click the thumbs up. Nobody has to do that. Again, I know we've got less people than usual because usually that warning goes out. I know the bell has gotten terrible on sending out notices as well too. So this will probably be one of the my shows with the least amount of people on it. Again, I was almost to the point of if the Hangouts wouldn't go through, of having to cancel it. Again, it's just not something I would want to do. I know there's been a lot of issues. Google Hangouts, if you're not familiar, this past week they had some major outages, and it wasn't just, us. I did miss having Dom on the show, Primetime Treasure Hunter. And there was an issue on Dom's channel. There was some major blackouts on Google, and it made it all the way to Forbes magazine, as well as Wall Street Journal, because when it was down, Zoom and all these other kinds of apps were down at the same time in many different areas. So I can't rely on Google or Google Hangouts to converse with people in areas that I need to. So again, we are getting an encoder. And it's a piece of hardware that directly will broadcast, and it does not have to be plugged in. It's actually got 4G capabilities and a battery for 3 hours. So if the power goes out, as long as I have somewhere to power my camera, which I can do off my laptops, and my battery backup, we could still broadcast, because as long as that tower, the 4G tower, is up, I'm broadcasting. So that's my goal, is to cut out all these middlemen and get rid of the main issues with the Hangouts and the Skype NDI issues and all that. I've played around with this. I have an IT degree. I know what I'm doing in this, but nothing seems to work because of, in my opinion, and Dom's and quite a few people I've talked to, it's a YouTube related issue. They're all tied in together. So anyway, we're going to try to avoid that. So we are having a show coming up. Chris will be there. Dom will be there, and me. And it'll be something rotational. But again, we've got to fix the Hangouts issue. I know other people can still broadcast in Hangouts. It depends on where you were at. So the East Coast area was what was affected this past week for several days in a row. Gmail was down. There was a bunch of stuff down in many areas that affected millions of people, enough to hit the main news pages on all the IT sections that you'll see. So anyway, that's enough of that. It's been frustrating for all of the folks who do this side of it. You guys don't see, what it takes to get some of these going, the shows and videos and editing and all that kind of stuff. So it gets to be a headache. I've got employees here while all this is going on. I had the twins both work today. My youngest was here too, working. So, it's there's a lot going on, let's just say. And then summer's going on, and we're trying to still get rid of the headaches. We've got growing pains, I guess, was the biggest part of it. I'm gonna get some questions. So if anybody has any questions, again, Audrey, thank you very kindly. I will have the video up for the Patreon probably by the morning. I've got another video coming up right after this show. I did produce a video, and it was ready to go prior to the show in case the show wasn't able to be broadcast and I couldn't get the hardware to sync, or for the new firmware to properly register with the new update on Windows. So this is the worst update I've had issues with. I've never had so many issues with it. So, there was some major pushes they pushed that made the firmware required for like my camera and stuff to actually run. So I've got a 4K camera, and it's a Brio. If anybody knows the Logitech Brio, it's probably one of the best cameras. But again, it's a webcam. So anyway, you may see us, once we get a encoder here, you may see it going to better quality, because I may have to bust out and use my DSLR from this point on with it, because it's it's a HDMI plug, and that's what my camera does. The webcams, as a traditional rule, don't do HDMI out, if you didn't know that. So and I know there's bridges and some adapters and things, but the quality, I heard, is terrible. So anyway, that's just, again, what's going on. We've had a busy week. I've had some questions here, and my tablet, if you excuse me, is right over here. Normally not something I do walk off camera, but again, it's just been one of those days. Literally, I turned on I started a new event, literally, and rolled straight into the live show. So again, I wasn't even sure if I'd get the camera fixed. Thank God I got the camera fixed. But anyway, I've got pages of questions that I get. I don't answer most of the questions on the bottom in YouTube comments anymore. What I've done since then is I've actually added them to my list, and then I'll call them out sometimes on the show. So I just feel it's easier, and it helps and answers more than just one person at the same time. So anyway, one of the questions updates and changes to the new payment system. I know I did discuss this. There is a video that I have up as well too about that exact topic. I'm still getting a lot of questions. And something else came up, which I thought I would address related to the questions. I'll holler at everybody in just a minute here, but this is pretty important. I had two people who went to pay and buy something, two on the same day, and they were unable to actually pay because of how my payment system is. And the store we're talking about is the one that you can all see, and it actually is the standard PayPal payment system. This person has only used the new payment system before to buy anything, and for some reason, it won't allow them to buy from people with the new or with the old PayPal payment system. That's 2 in one day. Now, I called eBay on that. They don't know anything about it, supposedly. So I don't know how much to hold water in that. The other 2 folks, different people, no relation, different states, the whole works. No way that these people are working together. I didn't get a screenshot. I didn't want to be buggy or anything on that like that, but it would have been nice to see a screenshot and what that was. But anyway, so there might be some technical issues, or they're trying to get you to switch over to the new payment system, maybe partially the reason. If you didn't watch my video on that, again, I'm not saying you have to watch my video on that or anything, but the wife will be on in just a minute here. She's coming down right now. The point of it is that the new payment system was supposed to save everybody, and I took it as everybody was supposed to save with the new payment system. The new payment system is going to cost me, a couple $1,000. It's not going to save me a dime. It's going to take more, which I'm not going to lose a couple $1,000. So that video talks about how to avoid that. I'm going to add fees into my buyers. It's going to be a quarter fee, just enough to cover the cost. Quarters that up. At the end of the year, those quarters that I'm being billed, and I, took out a calculator. I figured it out with the calculator, so I know my math is correct based on last year's sales. Now, it's probably going to be 20 or 30% up from last year, the way it's going now. So last year, if I had to have a quarter onto multiple purchase sales, it would have cost me close to $2,000. This year, it'll be more than that. So there is no savings for those of us with big, huge accounts. So it's penalizing me in a way, just so eBay can get more money. So, that's kind of a bad way to take it. It's kind of bothersome to think this whole time they were looking out for us, or at least that's what they said it was going to save us money. It's not going to save me money. And for the most of you, you'll be lucky to save $50 off of that. In all honesty, I've looked at the numbers. You can look at them yourself. The percentage, you're talking like 9 cents on some sales. Some sales you may save 5 cents total on that. But if you've sold 2 items to the same person on that same bill, it's going to cost you more money. It's not going to save you a dime every time that happens. So again, watch the video. It shows you how you can just add 25 cents into the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever sales you sell, and not the first one. You can add it into the first one too if you want. There's a handling fee option as well as a combined shipping option. Once you know how all that works, you can build it all into your listings, do business policies, which are key. I couldn't do all these changes that quick if I didn't have business policies. With the business policy, I can just go into, every first class package I get, which is the majority of my multi combined purchases. The second one would be media, because I do sell a lot of records to the same people. So you can go in and add that actual handling fee. The customer, the buyer, will not see where it's coming from. It's just going to tell them total shipping costs with a number. I've looked into it, and that's what it shows. It just shows shipping costs. It says basically the same thing it says whether there's a handling fee or not. So they're not going to know what you're doing. They blame it on the post office every time. And I'm not trying to skate the costs on anybody else. I'm adding a statement literally that says that we are, incurring costs when you buy multiple items through eBay's new policy. If you don't like it, please write to eBay or email eBay about it. And, I'm going to put that in my listings. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Before it goes in there, though, I'm just going to verify that eBay can't ding me for saying something like that. It's true. I'm not making anything up to my customers. So anyway, I thought that was the best bet to do it. So anyway, let's just hop on. Actually, the wife's here right now. So let's just invite my better half on. And we will move this around so you'll see a little bouncing here. Again, I don't know if I'll have the encoder in for better half, Marky, if you did not know.
What happened to the green screen?
Our hardware issues. I told you the update. I've been working all day on this.
I feel so weird.
Yeah, it's not what you expected. So I know some people like seeing the stuff behind us, but this is probably going to be moved all around. So it's just not much to look at here soon. Let's try and play it safe. Let's see here. Hoptimon, how are you doing? Hustle and Grind Calgary. Well, welcome from Calgary. My son will be in Canada in a very short time.
Yeah, I wished I was going.
Yeah, we'll probably go when your sister's back here. He's going to be there in July sometime. So anyway,
He hopes.
he hopes. Rosanna, how are you doing? Audrey, I wanted to know as well what kind of pins are worth buying. I will shout out some of that. I actually have, if you're talking referring to like pins that I showed in the 3-part Patreon video series thing, I will show you maybe some pins, just pins on one of the next videos. In fact, pardon me again, we will write that down. That's a good thing. That's a good topic, I would say. Hang on just a second there. As you know, I take notes on everything. We want to make sure we don't miss anything. And I still miss stuff even with notes. I will put that in there. We'll run into that, Audrey, for you. Well, thank you, Mike. Mike's been one of the first people on there. I think Mike was the first person I've ever interacted with on my channel, if I'm not mistaken. I think that would be Mike. Mike's a real good guy. I've talked to him back and forth for quite some time. So he does know a lot about radio parts and vacuum tubes. So I just found a box that I was looking for the other day. I've got about 400 vacuum tubes in a box. Crystal, how are you doing? Lee Boswell. There is a Connie Boswell, which was a famous singer, if you didn't know that. Oklahoma. I have not. Maybe I've driven through Oklahoma. You've been through Oklahoma?
I've seen it on a map.
Yeah, I'm sure I went through Oklahoma once. We've been out west before. Hey, Rich, how are you doing? MFR Solutions, howdy, back to you. Bowie, I wonder if that's any talk on David Bowie. It's kind of an odd one. Wubba Lubba Dub Dub, how are you doing? Designer Store and More, how are you doing as well? Brown Bushman, 30 people, only 2 likes. Yes, if you didn't hit the like, pop that like button for us there. Again, I do forget to say that quite often, so I'm always glad when somebody hollers it out. We've got Mary, how are you doing? I have been in Dublin. I think last November we were through Dublin, actually. Sounds great. Oh, lovely. I just updated like 2 days ago. Watch out on some of your equipment if you just updated. It depends on which update you have. It's a featured update, it says. It wasn't one that you will yeah, that's what it was. I think I have mine set, even the ones that I have a server, so I can push out from a server. I have it set to automatically do even the featured ones. Now, a featured one, if you have it set up just to automatically update, it will not update the feature on its own. You actually have to click on it and it will download it. So if you have everything set up and you don't have any worries for the next couple days, do it then, because if you download that and once it starts to install, chances are you're going to have issues. And I looked online and there was a ton of people who said it hung up on the getting everything ready. And mine did that as well, too. And then once that happened, then it got hung up again. It failed to actually initiate twice. So it spent like an hour doing a bunch of stuff, and then it didn't do anything at the end. So again, that's a separate one. You actually have to click the download. But that is the new version of Windows. It's going to automatically be pushed out to you at some point, I would imagine, once it hits a certain point.
They always get you.
Yeah, they got us this time. Yeah, they got us bad this time.
Oh.
Yeah, Hardy. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing? Welcome from Kansas as well. T-Mat Auctions. Hey, Tom, how are you doing? Yay, no clothing. Yeah, we were happy, but it was like a field day for the kids and everybody.
And our employees going through it.
Everybody was here that because they all were expecting to get free clothes, and that's exactly what we did. And there was like new shirts in there. We gave away like half a dozen Tommy Bahamas and
yeah, they love those
vintage California shirts and things like that too. I'm done. You know, it was a bonus for the people who work here, so you know they each probably got a couple $100. One of them got a like a
Pendleton
Ian took a Pendleton
sweater,
the sweater, and then and there was a nice one too, and then it was like a Fight Club more like a Matrix leather, but it was brown. Trench it was a coat. 60s like a trench coat. It looked pretty wild. Somebody got that one too, so I kept a few of the actual leathers for myself. Yeah, my other son just walked in, so you can hear our dogs going nuts. Let's see here. Hey, Scott, how are you doing? Yeah, the tech fires are not out. I have not been able to even record a video until last night. So it's just been hectic. Everything ties through. Even my editing software had an issue. Anyway, it's just been a nightmare here. I had to restart and reinstall a few apps. Even compatibility mode wasn't working on that too. So I have a server. There's a little more to it than just having 1 or 2 laptops sitting here. We've got a big server. It runs pretty much everything around here. I have push outs from there, you know, and we're on a subnet as well too. So I have extra security. So there's actually 2 firewalls in here, and I have to write everything through it. So when things change, I have to change some settings and allow apps and block apps and other things along that line too. I know most people wouldn't mess with that, but I have a safety plus, and you know, I got a net plus, and I took all that in college for a while. You know, I graduated with I have an IT degree from with an AA basically, or an AS, Associates in Science, and obviously I've got more degrees than that. But anyway, Carolina Pix, how are you doing? Hey Charles, how are you doing? Rosina M, again, welcome. Let's see here. Let me slide down. Well, thank you, Brown Bushman. I appreciate that. And Carl as well. The Cherry Picker, how are you doing? There's Black Crystal Dice back again as well, too.
Yeah, lots of storms.
Yeah, we've had storms. It didn't rain yet today.
I go to sleep when a good thunderstorm rolls
Not
in.
me.
I love them.
Let's see. Sounds like a headache. Glad it's over. Are you adding just the window for YouTube into OBS, or is there a direct plugin? I'm not sure if you're referring to getting on live here tonight. I literally have the webcam, and I don't even mess with YouTube when we go live, other than it's linked and it has the, you know, login information. So it's actually shot off of, you know, YouTube when I do it. And once I get the encoder, it's going to be a box that runs straight from a camera. It won't even need a laptop, in all honesty. I can edit and do stuff from the laptop, and, you know, add features and things as well from a laptop with an encoder. They do cost a lot of money. So, you know, we're going to shell out the money at this point. I'm fed up with even the quality right now. I've went into a bunch of details and things like that. I should be able to get, you know, 1080 no problem in the whole works. And, you know, I'm just, it's a fed up situation here. Even with my internet connection's terrible for some parts. So
sucks.
if we can go 4G, the tower is like, you know, real close. And I do it on my phone, but I'm not a big phone person, so I don't have the best phone in the world. So it's probably not capable of doing something like that. Plus, I would hate to, you know, stream from the phone, even as as a Wi-Fi broadcast. It's detrimental to the actual feed. So anyway, we're going to try and bypass all of those aspects of it. And not have to worry about it again, because she knows how frustrated it.
Yeah, every curse word just streaming.
No, there wasn't many curse words. Yeah, it's just frustrating. At least we're on, and I can calm down for a little while, and then as soon as we're done, I'll be back on trying to fix it again. Again, there is another video. I was going to wait till tomorrow, but I'll have another video up tomorrow, since I do have, you know, other laptops that do run. I just don't have them set up to go live right now. So another thing we'll do is have every laptop set up with all features. I have 3 that have live broadcast capabilities, but I was only able to fix one to actually broadcast today, which is this one, and then the other 2 actually I can record on one, and the third one that has the broadcast features, all I did was restart it. So, you know, I worked on one, and then we got a second one back up partially too. So let's see here. Hey, Penny and David as well. Trader Jack's, welcome. Michelle with 1L. Okay. Yeah, I've got several Michelles on here too. Carl, did you see how Etsy updated their shipping, fulfillment, printing labels? Hate it. eBay did the same thing this morning to us. If you haven't seen, eBay forced me into their new bulk shipping option this morning. Now, I don't know if it was a glitch and it forced me, but even when I went back out and tried to go in the way I had been going, it forced me back into the bulk. And, you know, I'm so frustrated with it. You've got to do like 3 more steps now in the bulk.
That's what he's saying.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But he's talking about Etsy, or unless you're talking about eBay. Unless you're talking about eBay and just put in Etsy.
Well, I mean, in general, more clicks to do the same thing.
Yeah, Etsy's the same way, because I printed receipts from Etsy too. But with eBay now, the new bulk's supposed to have everything in it. Before, in the old way, I could actually print overseas ones and stuff to Canada. And I go to the bulk and it logs up and wouldn't let me do the Canada one. And so I said, well, I'm not going to click the little button. It still wouldn't let me do the thing because not only do you have to, let me put it this way, you just because you unclick it, it won't let you print it if you have an order that won't be able to be sent through the bulk shipping option. So basically, then I had to go up and remove the one that was going to Canada, and then it would allow me to actually print on eBay today. And I had to do that twice on both of our main accounts. So it was completely and utterly ridiculous that I had to do that. So not only was I doing twice as many steps to do exactly what I could do before, I couldn't even do a order that was available to do before in the old way. It made no sense. It was so frustrating on that. So I said that today was just fires all the way across. Hey, Marie, how are you doing? Can you speak to selling antique books? I've been sourcing at estate sales in KY. Very slow selling. Love your channel. Antique books will be slow sellers unless you put them on, say, Amazon. And what's the other one? There's a book site too. Aaron or somebody will probably know the exact book site. Appreciate the super chat 100%. So thank you very kindly. I'm trying to think of the name of the other site. There's one other site. Shoot, it's just books. You can register on there just like you could on eBay, and you can sell books on that site too. It escapes me. I want to say one of the Artemis is on there as well. If you look in maybe Artemis books and see what book web they're on, it's escaping me. I don't look at it that much.
It'll come back to you tonight in the bed.
After the show's over.
Yep.
With that though, like antique books you can sell on Amazon 100%. Worst case scenario, you get an exemption. And all I do if I'm doing books on Amazon and they have no barcodes is I'll wait and I'll get like 10 or 15 of them in, and I can send in a sheet all at once with the titles and all the, the author, the date, the page count, and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I do. It takes a little longer to do it that way. No big deal. I've got them listed on several sites that way. So that's the key to getting this to work in my book. I do sell them very well on eBay. Sometimes, though, you're going to have to bulk them up and put them in lots. Like single ones, what I sell a lot of single antique books. I do a lot of school books. They don't sell for a ton of money, 15, 20 bucks, like Ray's Arithmetic or something like that, or McGuffey's Readers, McGuffey's Speller.
And I Can Read Books.
Well, I'm talking earlier.
The old,
yeah, the ones.
Okay.
I think I Can Read Books don't have barcodes on them either, if I'm not mistaken.
I love those.
Yeah, a lot of those will sell. Antique wise, the other ones that will sell, at least the ones that will sell you quick, are like Civil War histories on regiments, or a corps, or a city battle or something like that. Most military ones pre-1900 for us sell fairly quick. I just put one up on Chickamauga, I think yesterday. I think Ian Jordan or maybe it was Justice listed it. I don't remember who listed it, but we just put one of those up yesterday. For the most part, the history books sell well from like towns, from like, let's say that were printed by like a historical society from a town in like the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Most other books will sit a little while, unless you've got like a Tom Swift books. Antique Tom Swift books sell very well. Antique Wizard of Oz books sell every time. Alice in Wonderland, even pre-1940s, all of those types sell for us. Boy Scouts, geez, all that kind of stuff. Even the Bobbsey twins nowadays sell fairly well.
I remember that.
Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew. And again, you can list those all on Amazon as well, too, without a problem at all. Once you're on Amazon, you can get exemptions in books on Amazon. Again, you have to send one in for each item you want an exemption for. But again, I just wait and do them all at once, like at the end of the month. So let's say I've listed a bunch on eBay. This was part of the reason why I was a little frustrated when eBay switched to good till canceled, because I used to do it would end at the 30-day mark. I could do a 30-day listing, and then that way, if I had a whole bunch of stuff combined at the end of the day, I could just print it off as a sheet, cut and paste it into the form I send for the exemptions to Amazon, and I get it all done at the same time. So again, those are keys. You're going to sit on most of the other books besides that. I can tell you for sure, books, the vintage books, if they're just nothing special, none of those specific topics, not like Santa Claus, not like some Halloween or something along that line, they're going to sit. First edition is a different story, like Agatha Christie's or something along that line. Hardy Boys, again, some of those go for close to $1,000. I do have books, another book video coming up soon. So there will be another book video. Again, I've got a long list of videos. I've even got some that we've shot that I just didn't want to put up. I probably got like 8 I've already shot. Like even some of them are from a month or 2 ago. But anyway, again, I'll go into some more details on that. I promise you, Marie, on that. And again, as I said, it's on my list here. Yeah, and as you said, Crystal's saying she got lots of storms up there too. Cherry Picker, welcome as well. And again, thank you again, Maria, for that. Super chats are always appreciated very much so. So again, I thank you very kindly.
And you already got this one.
Yeah, I'm
she's
kind of
asking.
bouncing. Yeah, it gets a little distracting. Let's see.
I'm afraid to touch that thing.
Yeah, our feed. And I'm not the only one. I was on somebody else's show. Maybe it was Chris's or something, and his feed disappeared as well too. So yeah,
You
see, it
had
just
to do
did it. It
Yep.
just did it. Just did it now.
You
Hang
had
on.
to talk about it.
Let's see. That's the. There it is, Annie.
There we go.
Yeah, Annie, go check it out. You'll see too. Etsy, and I think most of them changed actually.
Michelle with 1 L.
Oh, Michelle, yeah, exactly. Just give them a call. That's usually, as long as you're in good standing. You don't have to have sold a lot. All you got to do is hit your limit and been on for like 90 days from what I see. I don't think there's a quoted time frame, but I know if you've been on at least 90 days, everybody who I've said that to has been able to get their limits upped. Now, they used to actually have an option where you just click a little button and it would automatically up them. It would, automatically scan your account, make sure there was no issues. I think maybe they're doing it differently now, but they are very good on upping. They want you to sell more items.
Oh, Annie was asking about the baby bird.
She let it go.
No, I took it outside. My youngest son and I took it outside because it was just it never calmed down. And as it was tweeting and chirping, the mother or dad, whichever bird, came and started feeding it. So everything's fine with the bird. We have one robin that will
owns
attack
the yard. Yeah,
he'll attack all the other robins, and I think what happened was the baby got left behind and it attacked the baby's mother.
Yeah, they team up on them too. The two robins take care of the both male and female robins take care of the fledglings, for a long time, because we had them actually, hatch. And I've got little video clips on here too. We had them hatch on our porch, literally like 3 feet from our window, and literally we've got to watch them from full stage hatching of an egg all the way up, and they would run around the yard for a day or two before they could really fly very well.
But
so
the fledgling, it could fly a little bit, not very well, but it could fly enough where it could get out of harm's way. But I was glad that the parent was out there. I wanted to see if maybe the parent would come back.
We saw it since too. It was up in the tree with one of the other ones feeding it. If you've ever watched birds, you can always tell when they're young, and you get to know them. They all have personalities, believe it or not. I mean, each one's different. Because this one was loud. He did not want to be anywhere else but outside. He was squawking up a storm after we got up.
It's always good if the parent comes back.
Yeah, I don't want to have to take care of
it. It's pretty tough. I've raised blue jays and mockingbirds.
Yeah, we've had a couple blue jays. I've got some photos of my son walking around on his finger. They're really friendly, and they'll sit on your shoulder like a parrot. Blue jays will, believe it or not.
I've had to teach them how to hunt when we had the crickets.
Yeah, we used to buy live crickets to teach. You got to do a lot of stuff from them. They're just not. You can't just let them go outside and expect them to be able to forage. You actually have to show them what to eat. Even believe it or not, even robins, you'd have to do that. There's videos here on YouTube you'll see of people teaching fledgling robins how to, hunt. You have to do that because they learn from their parents.
You got to stun the crickets so they'll have time. And that's it's not something you really want to do, but that's part of raising birds.
We see them in the yard. We see the parents, trying to wean them in the whole works quite often in the yard because we've got, bird feeders and bird baths, and, we've got a 8-foot closed-in fence all the way around we put up, and, just so we don't have cats and all that stuff running in here. So our dogs don't bother them. So
yeah, I'm just glad it got back with one of its parents, either the mother or the father.
Must be a dog down here. He's here somewhere.
I have to bathe them. They stink.
Brown Bushman. I sold 22 items in 2 days. Very good. Very good. As long as you're making money on those items. Do you sell K2? I'm not sure what K2 is. I'd like to compile video, audio, or written statements to show how they lied about managed payments, especially if it forces us out of using PayPal completely. They're putting PayPal in it, Aaron. So maybe it's a glitch, maybe it's an intentional glitch. I don't trust the way they're doing things in there now. Again, we used to be totally just eBay. We didn't do anything else. But as time's gone by, we've expanded. We're on 9 different platforms that we technically use, that we make money on. And you know, that wasn't done lightly. We were nervous, you know, hopping off. Once we did Amazon second, that was one of the the second ones we did. And I figure if we can do Amazon, all the other ones are a piece of cake. So we hit off the biggest one first. And, you know, we've been Amazon, you know, full-fledged for, you know, well, full-fledged 3 years. We've been on Amazon for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 totally. But we gave up on FBA for a while after they raised the fees on book storage. Books used to make us a lot of money. Talking about books, Maria, too. Books used to make us a lot more money on Amazon. I find that, you know, the vintage books do very well on Amazon, in all honesty, just because a lot of people don't list them. So there's not a lot of people you can source those vintage books from on Amazon. And I think that's why we sell more 78s on Amazon for higher price. You know, I think, you know, they're surprised to see them. And I get more good feedback from the records we sell on Amazon than I do on anything else, believe it or not, too, which is weird. Most people don't leave feedback, and I've talked about this, including the Patreon video I had the other day on Amazon. You know, you could have, you know, 10 feedbacks, and that could mean you sold several thousand items, because we don't go back in and leave feedback, I don't think.
When we buy stuff?
Yeah, I don't think I've left not on Amazon. Now, I had a blue screen in here the other day. I did go in and leave a comment on the page saying that it's not what it says it is, which is the first time I had to do that, because I looked at the fabric. It's not even cotton and all that kind of stuff, and ended up they had to eat it, and I sent it back. It was annoying. So anyway.
You got this one?
Yeah.
You need to go down a smidgen.
Yeah, well, I was hoping they were actually going to do something nice for once, because in the past they used to do stuff like that. They used to look out for the sellers, but now with how they're running it now, their goal is to gain money from us and not worry about anything else, is what it seems. I know they're expanding the base. I know they're working on getting our listings out there to Google. If you're not aware, and these are facts, and I've got a video that touches on this coming out still tonight. So if you want to know the facts on this, these are from many sites. The majority of people do not go to eBay or pretty much any site to look for an item anymore. They'll do a Google search. That's what they do. It's like 60% of every single search does not start on a specific site anymore. 42% of all of the sales, and it might even be higher than that in many areas, but 42% of the sales, online sales, are from a phone that did not use or doesn't have to use a site-specific search criteria. So the only way to keep this going with all the changes that are going on, and I assure you this is the case, is that you have to allow your items to be ranked on Google, and let eBay's new SEO and logarithms work, because they're doing what Amazon is doing. And Amazon, you can't, you know, end the listing and try and boost it up to, you know, a better search or anything like that. It doesn't work like that. And I still sell a ton on Amazon. I know we've got a lot of antiques and collectibles on Amazon, so that's what we do sell a lot of. But, you know, it's the opportunities there on Amazon. I'm telling you. You know, I know like Charles is on here, and there's some other folks on here. I know there's a lot of people that are trying to get ungated in many areas. All I can tell you is it's going to take you a lot of time and annoyance to keep responding to them. You know, I did everything in the book when we first tried to get in there, and I do mean everything. We spent, you know, 31 straight days bugging Amazon. You know, to the point where, you know, I'm sure they were tired of it. I even called them on the phone back then. You know, I didn't get anywhere on the phone, but, you know, I sure as heck bugged a few more people on it and made sure there was notes and comments and stuff about it.
You're persistent.
I am persistent. I don't give up on stuff like that. It meant a big difference in our income and the ability to start to branch off. You know, once you get into something like that, ungated and collectibles or something, you know, it's open door for selling pretty much everything I sell on eBay, I can sell on Amazon. So, Sellbrite's on its way. So hopefully once all that's situated, you'll see some massive changes in here. We're moving stuff around to get more counter space to have more people to list. Again, because I'm going to have stuff on all these sites. So instead of just cross-listing 1,000 items or 2,000 or 3,000 items on Amazon, I can put 20 or 30,000 items up there to start with. So I'm going to need more employees. I'm going to need more listings. We're just going to start cranking it out because I don't have to rely on just an eBay site or just Amazon. I can broadcast it out. I'm going to have it on our own site. We own our listings, as I've said many times. We own every aspect of our listing has been downloaded from eBay, complete in its entirety in a form that I can use to push to other platforms without doing anything to it.
Right here.
Hauptmann, I scored the mother load Tuesday. Vintage paper photos, video games, 80s action figures. Now, those I'd love to see. I do buy a lot of that kind of stuff. The last one, I got Maximilian from the Black Hole, and not the small one. I got the big one. So if you don't know what that's worth, go look up Maximilian from Black Hole, Disney's original, the 80s version. Because there's two versions of that. The small one still goes for like 70. The large one goes for way more than that, which I was very happy to find.
Don't we have a junkyard dog wrestler?
We got a box of wrestling figures somewhere. The big rubber ones. I think they're the Jax version. No, not the Jax. I don't remember the version, but they're the 80s. And the ones that came with Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
So I think we had an Andre once before too, but I need to get those out. Again, we've got a ton of inventory. I showed in last, I think this Tuesday's video, you got to see just one little section of the wall. So maybe I'll show some other areas. I've got boxes of stuff, and I'm not just trying to say that to exaggerate, but
yes, we have boxes.
We're moving stuff around here, and once clothing was totally exited, I've got more room to move stuff around. We're moving stuff onto another shelf area we put in. We may expand and take over the garage completely. I don't know at this point. So, we'll see what happens. It's all for business. We have been going back and forth on a warehouse / office building. I do know somebody here who would give me a cutthroat price on it. You open yourself up to other aspects when you do that. Plus, you've got more expenses, and you risk it too. I mean, somebody could break in and theft and all that kind of thing. Fire from some other idiot in the building. Yeah. Like if you live in an apartment, and we lived in an apartment for a while of our life because we were in DC, and I wasn't going to buy a house with what they cost, and I didn't want to live in DC full time. Either. But if you live in an apartment, somebody could burn down your building who was doing something stupid in the next apartment over, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, I'm just not that. I hate apartments these days. Looking to source in KY.
Kentucky.
Yeah, I know Kentucky.
I was just
smarty. We've been through Kentucky, and I've sourced in Lexington area once or twice. And where was that? Where else was I? I was in that was Lexington. Yeah, I worked in Lexington for what was that? Gaddy's maybe?
Oh, that was Applebee's. No, it wasn't Applebee's.
It was Gaddy's, I think.
Or maybe
anyway, I was in Lexington. No, that was in Knoxville.
Oh,
that was Knoxville. I was training in Lexington for a while, and I actually did some sourcing there. I know there was a flea market there on Saturday in Lexington. That's about all I can tell you in Kentucky. And we had some friends from Bowling Green that did very well around there. Yeah, somebody else is asking what's K2.
I mean, besides a mountain, that's.
Yeah, I was thinking the mountain, but I've seen videos on how backed up those are. Yeah,
the K12 and Better Off Dead.
Better Off Dead. Yeah,
I love that movie.
Tanya, welcome. I went to yard sale, and there were vintage photos. I wasn't sure what to look for, so I left it there. Military are really good. If you're looking for photos, military, planes, transportation, early, say 50s. Now, Vietnam War photos will sell very well, but usually you want like Korean War before if they're military. Specifics like that, famous people. If it's just somebody's like photo album of just people standing around and nothing interesting, they're really not worth that much.
Like the vintage cars.
Cars go. There's a flood of vintage car photos, and people do copy those as well.
Oh, yeah.
We do sell vintage car photos, though. Now, some of those in some of the earlier albums, they might not be actual photos. Well, they'll be real photos, but they might be RPPCs. So you might want to spend a little more time looking when you see that. If you don't know and can't tell the difference on size, bring yourself a little tiny tape measure or a little ruler. A postcard is going to be 3.5 by 5.5. And many times in a lot of the photo albums, I will find many postcards that are real photos. So, just keep that in consideration when you're looking for stuff like that. You want to give it a shot?
Oh, really?
Can't be any worse than me.
Oh,
We're checking to see if our feed's going to disappear on us again. Whenever you move it to advanced, it seems to disappear. The cherry picker, thank you so much for the TV guide video. Picked about 85 of them for 25 bucks. Has art, Lucy, and more.
oh.
Yeah, you should do well if it has Lucy. We looked into the Lucy, and every time we have Lucy sells very, very well. She was like the queen of television back in the 50s. I mean, I've seen every one of the original Lucy, I Love Lucy shows, and I watched Lucy reruns back
in
when
the
I was
70s. Yeah.
when I was a child. There wasn't a lot on. We got 3 channels, 3 regular broadcast channels. I was lucky enough to get Channel 9 out of Windsor, Canada. And then I got, it was Channel 30 around here, which was PBS. That was it. And some of those channels back when I was a child ended broadcast like at 11 or 11:30 at night.
Got the American flag.
Got a flag and the whole thing. Just like if you've watched Poltergeist, they play that ending on there. But when I was a child, TV went off the air at night, believe it or not. It makes me feel so old to think about it, because nowadays I can just flip on a switch and, watch anything I want. We haven't had broadcast TV or, any type of cable in 15 plus years. At least we've been all online for at least 15 plus years. We switched over before pretty much everybody in our entire town when we were living in Mississippi did. So
and Seminary, Mississippi, growing up, you got 2 choices: Hee Haw or Mid-South Wrestling.
Yeah, like one channel, because it was Hattiesburg, I think, was where
Seminary and Hattiesburg.
Well, Hattiesburg's a TV channel. There wasn't anything closer than that. I don't think you could get Jackson from that far away. It's like an hour away. I doubt you could pick up Jackson. Well, I'm glad that helped, Cherry Picker. I've got like close to 500 videos up now, and there's probably 300 or 400 just Bolo videos. So if you really want to know, look through some of those videos. I'm going to do some highlight videos that will show like clips of other videos in it. I think that's a safe thing I can do, just to kind of give you some ideas here of items in bulk anyway.
Mike went off to dinner.
Hang on. Mike, love the video you did on old electronics. Yeah, that's an old one, Mike. Yeah, that's an older one. You know your electronics, though, so coming from you, that makes me feel good. So Debbie does sales. How are you doing, Debbie? Off to dinner. Love you too. Well, thank you very kindly. Have a good one with you as well too, Mike. Hopefully your business is doing well, and you got your helper there working for you well too, Mike. Caitlin, how are you doing?
And she's saying about the photos.
If they're like $4 or $5 for a bunch of photos, I would get them.
And the crafters will buy them, which is true.
Yeah, they do to some extent. Usually, like if you look on eBay, you can see bulk lot of like 500 vintage photos, and it always says unsearched. They're never unsearched. Don't ever fall for the unsearched statement in there. Everybody looks through them. I don't care who they are. If you want to know if they look through them, look at what else they sell. When someone has a 500 lot of photos and they say unsearched, and I go to their store and they're selling individual photos, and that's like almost their entire store, they're not being honest. There's no way that they sell photos and they didn't look through those 500 photos. I would never do that, nor would I ever put unsearched in a listing, because I search everything. That's how you make money. You don't put something up that you didn't look at. It's just nothing you would want to do. It's ridiculous to think that people would put that in there and stuff. So anyway.
Right here.
Well, thank you very kindly, Connie.
You can go move it.
Yeah, my turn to risk it. It'll probably do it on me because it didn't do it.
You can use the force.
M-A-R-K-I-E.
It's M-A-R-K-E-Y.
Yeah, like Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
Well, you know what I mean. The designer store.
Compare me to a rat? Thanks.
Was your golden book video here or on Patreon? It is on this actual channel. I do not remember the title of it. And I don't want to switch back and forth. Usually I have another laptop running at the same time right next to me. But unfortunately, with all the technical difficulties, I did not do that. If you give me just 1 second here, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to search. I'll try and maybe post a link to it down below. It might take me too long to actually search for it right now. But it is on there. I think it says, it's got a picture of a infant on the thumbnail, if I'm not mistaken. And it might say the word golden in the title. So you might be able to just search in the word playlist for golden. It's going to be in the vintage and collectibles playlist. Let's see here. Hi, Don. Such a smart guy in here. Well, thank you very kindly. I do appreciate that very kindly. Oh, stop it now. Shelly, how are you doing? Galveston. Now, we have been to Galveston before. You have relatives, right?
I have relatives all over Texas.
Yeah, we've been to Texas. I worked in Dallas. How long? Maybe for on and off for a couple months. I helped out in Dallas. And then I took a HAZUP class in Dallas, like a refresher course before, too. It was through the USDA, I think it was, in that one.
Oh, waiting for MRI. Ooh.
She's done enough of those, Kathy.
Yeah. Oh.
Wish you best of luck, of course. Yeah, we went through every test they can do. We're still fighting with the insurance company. At least with my son, they actually sent us a notice for his last echocardiograph. So he has to do those quite often. And there's other things that we have to do with him. So
every 6 months.
Well, that's every 6 months. He's got to go back in. He goes to an these are both pediatric. He goes to a pediatric electrophysiologist and then a pediatric cardiologist, which are probably the most expensive doctors we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It sure rakes, they sure rake in the money. I don't know what they make, but I know a pediatric electrophysiologist, there's only like 102 or something like that in the whole country. Yeah. So, it's a 2-hour drive for us to go see him. Well, it's over that because it's at the University of Michigan, actually.
I got claustrophobic in the MRI.
Yeah, it wasn't a good experience.
I freaked out completely.
It was not a good experience. All the way around, in every aspect of it. Love finding vintage pics of animals.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah, I love animals too. We do keep
cats.
A lot of those. Cats do well. If you want an animal, Marie, to actually pick up a pug dog. The pug dogs always sell for us. I don't care whatever it is. Pug dogs sell for us.
They do.
I think if we had 20 pug dog cards in the first 2 or 3 days, we'd probably be down to 5.
Remember when it was the Scotties?
The Scotties used to sell, yeah.
Yeah,
they still do.
Scotties.
Christmas Scotty cards and Halloween related items with Scotty dogs in it do sell. Mostly the silhouette ones sell, and there's a series of Christmas cards that came out in the 20s and 30s, and the cards are paper one, and Hallmark made a couple of these, the Hallmark cards, and you can actually punch out, it's like a calico version of a Scotty, and it comes with a stand, and there's many different animals, there's elephants and poodles and stuff, but these Christmas cards, and I wished I remember the name of them, I got 2 of them the other day, maybe I'll put a video together of some better cards, but they actually fold out and they're like a stand-up thing, and they will rock on their feet. It's really interesting. Those things go for like $30 a pop. So I was really happy for $1 a piece to get 2 of them.
Toys.
Yeah, paper toys. Yep. But not only are they paper toys, they're Christmas ones. Yep. So you've got a double interest. But pug dogs are number 1 on my list. The other one for animals, if you want to know what else sells good in animals, are mascots from like a Navy ship from World War I or World War II. We had a monkey. It was from maybe it was from like the USS Tennessee or something. Because I think it was the USS Tennessee. It was a monkey that smoked, and he was smoking a pipe on the deck, and it was a real photo postcard. Yeah. And I bought it with a bunch of them, and I didn't think a bunch of it. I knew I'd get at least 10 or 15 bucks. We ended up getting $60 for the card. And so from that point on, I've had dogs and stuff. The dogs will sell, like a mascot dog. Bulldogs will sell, but pugs
are hot.
Mascots, though, with the ships and stuff, they've had donkeys and monkeys, and I had a mule on one even once. We've had 20 or 30 mascot real picture postcards, real photo postcards. Every one of them is sold within, say, the first week or 2. Every single one. So if you like animals, those are something specific to look for. Those are bolos all day long. Mascots, military mascots. And it doesn't have to be U.S. at all. And U.S. collectors will buy the British mascot ones, and most of them are the bulldog, which was like the emblem of Winston Churchill during the war. So when you see characters of Churchill, it's the bulldog, the British bulldog. That's a line of dog. It's a breed. So I thought that was always interesting.
You want me to?
Annie, I try not to collect anything to keep some of the awesome antique dog photos. I love dogs too. We're big animal folks, so I get that. We end up saying we're not going to keep stuff, and we've got a a couple horrendous collections of items, bottle wise for one. And I've showed some. Maybe one of these days I'll do a live shot from, we'll just talk live on some bottles. We'll talk about maybe a Bolo video maybe this week or something. We've got a barrister from a hospital that was built. The barrister itself is like a bookcase with glass doors, and it came out. We know what hospital it came out of. It came out of the Collins, Mississippi hospital. We have 2 of them, and it's just full of bottles. It's a three tier. It's about 5 foot tall. And there's probably about 300 select bottles of all the picks. These are all pick bottles. Every one of the bottles in this thing is something that we've picked and kept. I know it's bad to keep what you sell, but
I love bottles.
We love bottles. So, and I've dug for bottles. We've been to Civil War sites, and I've dug, black glass bottles, with the high kickups. And
was it the onion?
Yeah, we've got one onion that I kept. We sold all the originals back before we decided to keep bottles, and then I've never run into another good one that wasn't broken. So we have one onion bottle that's a late one. It's 1870s or so.
I even have a Pepsi patio bottle.
Yeah,
I love the style.
You've got a sign
that.
from Pepsi too, Patio Pepsi, I think. Don't we have a tin sign on the wall from Patio?
No, not the patio.
What's the other tin sign we have up there that's Pepsi? It's not a Pepsi product, but it's a Pepsi sign, but it's not Pepsi Cola.
I forgot.
Team.
That's
we've got a
team,
which is by Pepsi as well too. At that point, don't want to miss anybody. Yeah, Marie and Annie are similar to us because one of us will keep something at some point. The majority of stuff gets sold, but I do have some China photos that I've kept forever.
Oh, those are nice. Yeah.
And I just picked up some really nice China photos too. So, and I mean a lot of them. You saw the photos, and some of them are panoramic, which the last panoramic China photo I saw went for almost 700. Now mine are smaller versions, but they're still probably a couple $100 each. I showed some China photos or postcards in a video, and I think it was the video talking about the Chinese ID that I showed, the military ID. I had offers on some of those already. I turned down a $145 offer on one of the postcards I showed you in that video because I know I'm going to get more for it. So I'm never afraid to turn down an offer. That was a question I had. They say, I do a counter offer and no one wants to take it. My counter offers, usually I do sell them. Sometimes they'll decline it, and then like a day later they'll realize there's no way on earth they're going to get it, and they'll send another offer. That happened this morning even. So I don't worry too much because yeah, sure, a lot of people, $145, they might have wanted to take it, but I'm going to get another $100 out of it if I wait another week. The item's only been up for 3 or 4 days. I'm never in a rush to sell something anymore. I used to be. I was in everybody else's state. We had 0 up and started from scratch again because we weren't able to do it through college very much. College is pretty much our master's degree anyway. When we did the master's, the project alone took up like 70 hours a week. We
ate a lot of Little Caesars pizza.
Yeah, because it was easy and quick.
And cheap, $5 for the pizza.
Yeah, that was the best part of it, because I wouldn't have to worry about, fixing stuff. We either go out to eat or do that just because it just didn't have time. If you ever done something like that, again, I'm not trying to brag. It's not that of it.
The kids got sick of pizza though.
Yeah, it was an experience. Let's move on to a question here. Have you ever read a book called Profit First for E-commerce by Thomason? No idea what that is. I don't worry about that aspect of it. I've got people that I look at and follow and sites that I look at for that type of information. I took business classes. I ran a region that did $11.2 million a year for Einstein Brothers.
Yes.
She got all the benefits of it as well too.
I got to eat some free food
all the time. Yeah, I could always bring whatever I wanted.
I love those sandwiches. I miss them.
As long as I made my goals, I could always promo out stuff. I was the guy in charge. I had 30 some odd stores that I covered. I'm very good on business. I took it in college as well. I took project management. I don't look into too many other people's philosophies and thoughts because what works for one, and I'm not trying to, down these people at all. I don't know who they are. They may be the best people in the world for what they do. But for me personally, I learn by doing. And I've done so many different, hats. I've had so many hats that, and I've, even with college, I know IT and I took marketing stuff and, I took, the coding classes and everything. I wanted to know everything I could. I don't look out for information like that, I guess is the bottom line. I read up on stuff myself. I don't read books along that lines personally. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. For the majority of people, it's perfect, great. I would recommend doing that for most people, but I've got ADD and stuff like that.
Yes.
And for me with OCD, if I can't do it on my own, I get
Oh
frustrated, I
yeah.
guess. And she knows because, like when the computer issues, I'll be up till it's fixed,
Yep. He will.
and I don't care if that means I was up for, 30 hours straight. I want the damn, I was going to cuss. Well, I want the darn
Ooh.
thing fixed. So, that's the point of it here. It's not like I want to be like this. It's not like I said, "Hey, let's stay up for 30 hours because I have to fix this
It's
thing."
a little blurry, eh?
Yeah, it's Google Hangouts. It's not us. It's
Oh,
them.
okay.
Again, I'm getting an encoder, so hopefully all this stuff will go bye. So, again, there's tons of people. I wouldn't recommend personally anybody because I haven't read them, but there's a ton of people. Other people may be a better source on asking for that. Print me up in all
When you
honesty.
said project management, all I could think of was George
Costanza, yeah.
Costanza.
Project man, or that was risk management.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's right. Risk management.
Project management has been my best help for what we do here because it helps you set up stuff and stuff. And plus, where I worked, I've always had, as a regional, I had over 1,000 employees under me. Well, probably close to 3,000. Most restaurants you have run about 100 employees total. Of course, they're not all there every day. It's just you've got part-timers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd had over 3,000 employees under me, including most stores had 3 managers in the store, 1 general and 2 assistants. Some had 4 total managers, depending on their volume. So I probably had, over 100 managers that were under me, including general managers, and then, 31 general managers, and then the assistants with it. So yeah, I've learned how to deal with most things, not by choice always, just by doing it. You got to, for me, I got to do it. I got to do it. I can't. I'm happy to read a book and figure out how to fix something, but I got to do it myself. I hate when somebody steps in and, well, you just do it this way. I didn't learn anything from that. So I guess that's the point. Now that I bored you all to death. What is the highest selling item you have ever sold? We sold a Prevost motorhome for a ton of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
yeah.
Our commission on that was 5%. I want to say it's been a long time and my brain's a little frazzled. We either sold it for $250,000, which I think is what we sold it for, or it was $500,000. It wasn't ours. We didn't own it. I just did it on a commission basis. It went through. I ran a resort, a park in Florida on
RV
192.
resort,
It was
yeah.
Destiny Resorts is what and we did it. I did it while I was in college, going to Valencia at that point. So we went to college twice. The wife,
I got pregnant.
She got pregnant, and I quit to make sure I was making the money. I did the right thing and took care of the family. She didn't have to work. I went back and took a manager's job, and we quit college. So
Sweetie.
you got to do what you got to do. Kids and wife come first. Everything else is unimportant in my personal opinion. Obviously you got to have money, but there's not much else that
we did without a lot.
Yeah, but we were fine with it. We're a close
Yep.
family. We're not like most people. People think we're out there a little bit, but that's fine.
I wanted to stay home and raise
I
my
wanted
children.
you to, yeah. And a lot of people don't have that opportunity. A lot of people would be more worried about having the best car or the best phone. I was worried about having the best care for my kids.
Exactly.
I didn't care about any of their other aspects. I didn't care if somebody thought something about what the car I drove or anything else like that. And I learned even from growing up as a child. My parents never had a lot of money. My father did work for the military and did some stuff. And, my mom did what she could. She worked nights at a nursing home in a very depressing situation for a long time. Her mom did it too. So, I didn't just walk in on anything. For everything I have, I physically earned with sweat and labor, every single thing. And I can say that for both of us.
Oh, yeah.
We had car issues. Me and the wife put in an engine together.
Yeah, I helped you do that.
From scratch. I never did it before. Yeah. We put it in. I followed the directions, and I'm very good on mechanical, and it worked.
Yeah, we got to borrow that engine lift.
Yeah, I borrowed an engine lift. We picked up a wrecked car, basically, with 4,000 miles on it from a car that flipped, and we got a real good deal on an engine. And I figured out how to get it all together and timed and distributor and everything else just from reading a few books, and it worked. And we put in transmissions together, and I've painted and body worked and everything else. Not because I wanted to always do it, but because the money was tight. you know, you fix, you do, you know, whatever you can to get stuff running. We drove a $400 1978 Buick that was loud as can be at
Buick
one time.
Regal.
It was
I
a
love
Buick
that
Regal.
car.
It moved,
It
you know.
dusted all the other cars off the road.
Mechanically, it was fairly good, but it did smoke and some other issues just because, you know, it was a way to get around. I didn't care what any thought. It was. It floated down the highway.
It did.
You know, it was a 3.8. I think it was a 3.8, if I'm not mistaken.
Remember that dude thinking his little bitty
somebody pulled
car
up to
was
us
all
with
big and bad.
he had bored out pistons for sure. It was probably like a 4-cylinder. I can't remember what the car was, but they used to do it with Rabbits back in the day, Volkswagen Rabbits. They put in like a oversized pistons and turn them into the race. And we used to have I don't know what kind of race those are called, but they would do races out by Toledo Speedway a lot. So we'd see that kind of stuff. And he thought he was going to race us.
And we just left him.
And, you know, because my car, it looked like a clunker. It sounded awful. But the second I put the pedal down, you were sitting in the back, as far back in the seat as you could, because it's pulling you back. I was
like, see you, buddy.
Yeah. And he was just, he was shocked as can be. But anyway, enough on cars. Let's go up to some questions here. Let's see, Don, can you talk about vintage books? Have you been getting them at estate sales? Yeah. Now, I don't source like everybody else. I don't go to garage sales very much. I only go to select estate sales, and I don't thrift store anymore at all because I don't need to. Again, it's not a brag. It's just it's
just a matter of fact.
It's a matter of fact. I don't know how else, you know, I can't talk about that without stating this because we've got so much inventory and we've got pickers. I've got people that call me, and I've got ins nowadays with a lot of the estate sale companies. So I usually know what's going to be at a sale before it opens up. Most of the time I can't buy it ahead of time, but at least I get to see it. Sometimes I actually give people appraisals on things so I can get in there, give an appraisal and know what's there. Sometimes they'll at least tell me where it's in the building, even if they don't give me any benefit from doing that. Estate sales, you will find books at. I've talked about this before too. The one place I always find good money at an estate sale that most people miss is the bookshelves. Most estate sales around here are older folks that have big bookcases of stuff. And I always look through those bookcases. Anything like a Blondie and Dagwood or any of the vintage, like Hopalong Cassidy, Roy Rogers books, the 40s Westerns do extremely well. Tom Corbett from the 50s, all of that kind of stuff does well. 60s early kids readers, not like teen readers, I should say, more along the lines of Hardy Boy and Nancy Drew. And I've touched on that actually in a Patreon video as well, just those types of materials. It's not a secret. I do sell them. You do see them in there. There are some specifics on those as well too, but for the most part, those are the things that I look for when I go to a estate sale. And I do still go, as I said, but just very selectively. Most other estate sales, you're going to find books from the 1880s and 70s and stuff like that. Those can do well too, but don't expect them to go for big money. Most of those I usually pay $1 or $2 for. I won't pay much more than that. There's no real way to quickly look up a lot of those. You're going to have to judge it by ear on a lot of those pre-1900 books because, again, you could spend some time looking them up. If they're $1 or $2, I will always take a chance on those books. I don't mind throwing away $1 or $2 if that's what it takes, because usually what happens, I'll buy 50 books. I think we got like 50 the last time. And I'll buy about 50 books, $1 or $2 a piece, especially if I can bulk them and get them to give me those books. If I'm buying that many, $1 or so a piece, I'm usually going to get at least a bunch of books. Well, let's say I buy 50 books. I get 5 books that are worth $150. I made my money back. So if I've got to do something else with the other books, no big deal.
And we've given them away to the colleges too.
Yeah, occasionally we give them to the college, or we'll take them. There is one thrift store we do donate some stuff to, just because it helps a really good cause.
Yeah.
One of the ladies there actually worked or goes to my church, I should say. And she remembers me from being an altar boy. And one day she actually brought in, her daughter went there too. She was younger than me, her daughter, but she brought in a yearbook with me in it. So, you know, I was kind of floored back because I didn't realize it was the first time I knew that she went to that church. So it was kind of funny because she brought it out that way and said, well, you know, I went to your church and still go and stuff. So it was kind of funny. But anyway, very nice lady.
Brown Bushman.
Are you a traveling man? With the family, yes, and we do source if we travel anywhere. We went down to the coast of Mississippi in December for a week, right at Christmas time.
I miss all of the old antiques.
Yeah, there was no real
stores.
big sourcing. We did go to Dirt Cheap and did get a few items there. If you're in the South, Dirt Cheap used to be our go-to place. If you,
Yes.
especially for Legos.
Right
Oh my
after
God.
Halloween. Right after
Yeah,
Halloween.
you can't wait. You go in, well, even start looking like at a Dirt Cheap in October. The third week in October is the best time frame. They get them in
For the
really early
Christmas stuff.
for the Christmas. And a lot of those items may have been from the prior Christmas, which was fine. So when everybody else was looking for Halloween and Thanksgiving items, we already had bought our kids like 70 sets.
The
And
Legos. Oh yeah.
and I'm not exaggerating.
Crazy.
It was like 70 sets of Legos we
Yes.
bought for 10 cents on the dollar for every one of those.
Mhm.
Some of them were open, some of them weren't. We did look through them, so like 95% of the ones we bought were complete.
Yep.
We got the 2 main Batman sets, the big sets now that sell for $500 or $600 a
They
piece.
had the Freeze guy, the
Mr. Freeze is in that
Freeze.
set.
Yeah.
I'll give you a bolo right now. Type in Mr. Freeze and Lego. That guy, his head and his top go for 100 plus any day of the week. I had 3 of them that we had sold in the last, say,
And then the
3 months.
SpongeBob's too.
SpongeBob's don't do too bad. Harry Potter's, we sell.
Oh, the Harry Potter.
Minifigs sell better than anything else. I'll tell you right now, if you're getting loose Legos. Loose Legos, we used to be able to sell them for $14 a pound without minifigs in it. And that was a set number. A lot of people jumped in on the bandwagon. And you got the brick site too. I can't remember what the Lego brick site is, but the Lego brick site people started up. And so after that, we didn't mess with the $14 a pound ones now. My kids have every book to every set that they have. So we've got a 14 by 14 box full of every single instructional manual. They want to put some of these together. If they put like the Batman set together, even out of the box, it still goes for like $300 or $400. At least the last time I looked. So, we've got probably 500-600 pounds of Legos. No exaggeration. I mean,
it's true,
none whatsoever. That's a totally. Well, I guess it would be pretty far to turn it, but
please,
I'm not going to turn the camera that far. But there's a stack of them you can see, and they're the big, huge totes just full of Legos.
Dirt Cheap was awesome.
Dirt Cheap was awesome. We did find some stuff in December at Dirt Cheap. We actually found Rick and Morty brand new in the box, sealed, and it was you're paying 20 cents on the dollar when we got it in December, and that was after everybody bought all the toys. So we still found stuff in December.
Sure did.
At Christmas. I mean, we're talking 2 or 3 days before Christmas, we were still able to find RA items at Dirt Cheap in Mississippi, in an area where there wasn't many stores to shop at in the first place, because everything's still wiped out on the coast from the hurricane, believe it or not. There was only a handful of anything opened anywhere. There was only like 10 restaurants in this huge area. We had to drive all the way into Gulfport. Well, again, people don't know where I'm talking about, but Gulfport's 30 or so minutes away up the coast. Anyway, it's over the bridge. Let's see here.
Wait. Oh.
She always has it. Now I bought her that one.
Yep,
I think
he bought me this one.
those are.
Thank you.
Those are. It's jade, the necklace. It has real pearls on it. There's actually some square cut rock crystal, quartz crystal. And then the actual stone is another piece of jade. And then there's coral around it. That's all sterling, and it's got touch marks. Wasn't it Scottish or something?
I have no idea, but it's signed.
It's signed. It's got touch marks on it as well.
I got that for Christmas about, 4 years ago?
Maybe a little longer than that. She's got a lot of jewelry. We had to get a deposit box at the bank just because of that. So don't keep stuff in your house if you do business, just FYI. Train Watcher Don. Hi, Don and Marky. Great to see you. I have a book question as well. Have some old ones without ISBNs. Any tips on value or finding value? eBay, that's pretty much most of them. Erebus Books or Artemis Books, I want to say that's the site, but there's a main book site that all these other bookstores will list their items on, and you can look at hundreds of books. It's not saved on this laptop. Otherwise, I just click a button and be able to tell you what the site is called. I don't remember. It's on my favorites. So anyway, there's a site that I use eBay for most of that, or that book site. Money wise, a lot of those old ones, you might get good money, but you're gonna have to hold on to them for a while. Even on Amazon, we had some price guides for transportation buttons, and these books usually sell on eBay for maybe $160 to $175 a piece. And I had the whole set. There's 3 books in the set. Usually you can get 5 something on eBay for these books. Amazon, they go for almost $1,000, those same 3 books. but it takes way longer to sell because the price is higher. We did wait the while and they did sell. You might wait 9 months for something like that to sell, but it meant I doubled my money over eBay. So why not wait? I didn't need the money. I didn't have much into them. We used the books for a while. I don't do much of those types of material where I go to the big button auctions anymore. There are auctions just for shirt and uniform buttons. Armchair Auctions is a site you'd want to look up if you're in a, even fancy Victorian buttons. That's the site they sell them at. If somebody wants to find a George Washington colonial uniform button or a campaign button for Long Live the President from George Washington, you would go to a sale like that. They have had them in most every sale that I have seen, including Napoleonic buttons and things along that line as well, too. Civil War buttons show up occasionally there, too.
She was joking.
Abe Books. That's it, Annie. Thank you. I see it right there. Abe's. I knew it started with an A. Artemis or the Erebus Books is on that site. That's the one. That's the one right there. Don has a flip phone. Get it? Flip phone. Yeah, I don't. We had a flip phone. It's been a long time. I still have it. They still sell. You can sell flip phones.
How about the big brick phones?
Brick phones sell very well, and I got a video on those as well too. Yeah. Ad Libris. That's, yeah, those are the other sites. Yep, that's Annie's nailed them right there. Again, I've got favorites saved, and I don't usually pay attention to which one I'm clicking. I just know where to click.
Yes.
Condition can matter too. Yes, Annie. Annie's very smart and all that stuff. So I would take Annie's word on most everything she says. I haven't had a contradiction on whatever she said. So, Jennifer, how are you doing? I had a listing removed for copyright infringement. Turns out it was really because the item could not be worldwide, only in the US. I tried to find it to relist and it is gone. Call eBay up and ask them if you can pull that up. If that is honestly the only reason they pulled it, they should be able to pull it up and just relist it with the option here. They have done that for me years ago. I know they can still do that. I had a listing disappear the other day after it was sold. So eBay went in and looked at it. They couldn't figure out why it disappeared. They relisted it from their end, and it actually immediately caught back up. And after they relisted, then the original showed up afterwards. So,
did you get this
well,
one?
Thank you, Rusted Raccoon. I appreciate the $2 on that. New to this eBay selling thing. Learning a ton. Well, thank you very kindly, Rusted Raccoon. I always appreciate the super chats. Again, it's a plus for us. It's a big help. Thank you very kindly. Yeah, I got that one.
Right there. Or
read about antique books are old antique books worth selling because prices and selling is different from now since the 60s. Did I think I missed? I think we still missed something. Our feed just bounced again. Oh no, you were pretty close. Oh yeah, yeah, okay. It's hard to keep track sometimes. I'm just expecting it to disappear.
I'm pessimistic.
Abe's Books, yeah, Annie got them both there. Book Scouter is for like Amazon, I guess. It would be more like an FBA thing for like the book scouters and stuff like that. We had a scanner when we were doing books and stuff, and it just clipped onto the bottom of my, well, it didn't clip. I stuck Velcro onto my case on my phone, and I could one hand scan with that, and it would just go to my phone and tell me whether I should get it or not. It gives you percentage. It depends on how you set it up. You can set them up to some of these scanners if you're like RA scanning or FBA scanning. And you can just set it up so it'll say have a green light or a beep, so you can actually have Bluetooth to your ear, and it'll just say, you know, with a beep to buy or not to buy, and then you can just go through them really quick.
Remember all the books that Maria got from Dollar Tree, the pop-up Nightmare Before Christmas, and then it was like bam.
Yeah, we sold, I don't know how many of those Nightmare Before Christmas pop-up books really quick. You can RA books as well too. So sometimes they'll take, you know, well, not so much anymore these days, but we would also take and scan at new establishments for the RA as well too. We've done RA for a long time.
Yeah. Right here.
Michael, love your vids. Well, thank you very much. So much info. It's like going to school. Hello from Amarillo. Been there before Texas, myself too.
It's in Texas.
How you doing, Jaded Diva? Antique Vintage Thrift. There's Duncan. How are you doing, Duncan? I think it's, yeah, I was just going to say it's morning. Duncan is in Australia, and I know we've got several other folks. I think Kathy actually dropped off earlier. I think she's the one with the MRI. I've got 3 or 4 people from Australia that I converse with frequently. Yeah, we haven't, terrific sales. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about sales. I mean, we've just been still whomping it. And again, we're getting real close to being able to roll out cross-listing of 10, 20,000 items in one day. I will, once I get to a point when I roll it out to multiple platforms and we have our store open, I will give you a critique on what I honestly think of Sellbrite. I don't want to be unfairly criticizing them. I don't get a dime from them, so I'm not working any deals out. I'll probably be able to maybe get you some link or something like that, maybe, but I'm not getting anything out of Sellbrite by talking about it. So before anybody says, hey, he's getting paid, I'm not getting paid. My experience so far hasn't been great, but I'm not saying it's Sellbrite's fault. I've looked into it. They all work the same way. So whether it was Sellbrite I got or one of the other ones, the same drawbacks would happen. With a third-party app, and you want to cross-list, which is what you desperately need to do for everybody who's not cross-listing, is to you have to download your items into the third-party app, and then from there you have to broadcast them to the other apps. So basically, to get Sellbrite to work, I'm going to have to import. Well, we did import. You import all your listings, and then you get them all categorized, ready for cross-listing, and then you have to take them down on eBay, and then I'll have to up them again from the third-party app. All the ones that you do have to be original or originate from the third-party app. It's the only way that it will pull down items from other sites. With the third-party app, you can successfully cross-list all of your items on other platforms, and it will take them down if it sells on one site or the other. So if I do 5 sites that I cross-list on, and I sell it, let's say on Etsy, I sell an item, it's going to pull them down from Amazon and eBay as well, or whatever site I have the items on. I won't have to do that, but it won't do it if the actual auction or the listing originated on eBay, because the internal structure of the listing is not right. It's not set up to coexist with Sellbrite. It's only able to be brought, in, and then you have to adjust categories in, how it then transports itself to the other platforms. Now, that took a little while to get the gist of. I've actually had a couple people ask me to help them with it. I am not to a state until I get them all listed where I feel comfortable to do that. So John, I don't know if there's John's out here, but I've had some other people ask on that. And again, I'm not going to recommend anybody till I know I'm straight on it. So, if I feel at the time when we get them listed and everything's working the way it says, once all these listings are up and I see it pulling all this stuff down from my site, my personal site, and all these other platforms, I'll trust it. I'm fine with the way Sellbrite's going now. Again, I haven't been fully fledged into it because it's only a percentage of our listings are on there. Because again, I'm still fixing listing titles and things like that. And for like on Amazon, you don't want your bin numbers on the title, and there's a bunch of stuff you got to do. So there's going to be a lot of effort to get it. That's why I say this is growing pains for us. So you may see some growing pains, you may see some issues or hear us be frustrated with stuff. But again, this is growing pains. Once all of these details are worked out, it'll be a set flow. I won't have these issues again, and I'll get to my our objective. Those in Patreon know what I'm looking for and where we're going. You already saw exactly what I'm going towards right this second. You know without a doubt that's where you want to be too, from what I've showed you. So again, we're planning to go a certain route, and this is the growing pains it's going to take us to get there. So hopefully that answers a little bit there. I know I rambled again, as I always do, but
you've already answered that one with the Prevo.
Yeah, Prevo. A Prevo is a tour bus, basically, as I said.
Oh,
yeah, it just lost us.
You did it.
Oh, no, we're still there.
Oh.
Squirrels are doing good. One of them was up here this morning.
Sniffing my hand.
Yeah, we saw a baby bunny in our yard too, Annie, just the other day.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, they're really cute. You can tame a wild rabbit, though. I've had a couple when I was in Scouts, like I was 12 or 14, little tiny little things.
My Siamese cat raised a baby rabbit.
Yeah, you still have pictures of it, too.
Nursing on
the cat. Yeah, that was cute.
And the cat also taught the baby bunny how to use the litter pan, too.
Yeah, you can train rabbits to use litter pans, believe it or not. I've seen it in person. You can train cats to use a toilet.
No.
Well, I wouldn't do it, but you can do that.
Cat falls in.
Welcome, Sue. Where is the best place to figure out what books to look for when estate's selling certain authors? I feel overwhelmed when trying to figure out what's worth. You're going to have to do a ton of comps. That's the best way to do it. Or look up every book you can when you go to a place like this until you learn them all. You've got old standards. I can tell you Stephen King, but, you've got to know the difference between a Stephen King first edition and a regular Stephen King, because most aren't worth a ton of money. One or two Stephen King books too. The first edition is a paperback. Isn't The Stand a paperback?
I have no idea.
I think The Stand, the first edition of that book, is a paperback.
But Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is a paperback, the first edition.
Yeah, there's some like that. So a lot of people will miss stuff like that.
Yep.
There's a Stephen King wrote something, I can't think of the name. I think maybe it's a Frankenstein or something that he did. But Bernie Wrightson, anybody who's into comics and in sci-fi art and horror art, Bernie Wrightson did something with Stephen King. And the paperback edition is actually worth more than the hardback edition, because the hardback's the second printing of it, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what that one is. The usual standards, Anne Rice and things like that will sell for the most part. But again, it's got to be the right book of anything. Nelson, Nelson DeMille, I think. The Talbot Odyssey is one that I always look for. That's the first high-priced book I've ever sold, was the Talbot Odyssey. Yeah, it's Nelson DeMille. He did The General's Daughter, and which is a movie with John Travolta, if I'm not mistaken. He did some, maybe no, it wasn't Mosquito Coast. I can't think of what else he did, but that's one. I mean, there's certain books that I always look for, and certain authors that I always look for. Again, I did do a video just on specifics in Patreon, but you're going to have to spend some time researching it. That's the only thing I can tell you, because I've got them in my head. If I go someplace, I know the key ones that I always look for. If I don't recognize a name, I just look it up usually. You can even do, photo searching too, so you don't have to, type in anything if you're, trying to be in a hurry. It just depends. But book-wise, we've done books for 20 years at some extent, but full-time, since we've been full-time, almost going on 8 years now. We did FBA books, so I've looked at tens of thousands of books. When you go out scanning, you're scanning sometimes. If you go to a book sale or something, or a book depository, or a school book sale is always best, at least from their depository, or like the county book storage facility for like the schools. That's usually a pretty good place to go. You might look at 5,000 books there. And so you're going to get to know them. You're going to look up the same one only so many times before you remember, hey, I don't want to look that one up, or yeah, buy that book. I mean, that's all I can tell you. I didn't get into paper to intentionally. It just is what happened.
Yeah.
Now, when I first started, we messed up all the time, because it's hard to know. I didn't lose a ton of money, but
that's how I learned from my mistakes.
That's how you learn. Nowadays, I don't look up most stuff, or don't have to anymore, even in the paper, even in the postcard area, even if it's from some small town or even from the big towns. Most of it, you'll get the gist of stuff like that. Just like in books, you'll eventually understand which books to buy. There's no secret, there's no shortcut that'll make you find every book that you need to. Again, I've given out some in the Patreon. I don't share everything out here, because there's only a limited number of certain types of items that I don't want everybody to buy it, and then I won't even be able to find it. So a limited amount of people is okay, but you're just going to have to pay attention to what you find, and remember your research. I do comp searches when I'm not out, just so I can see what's at the top of the list. Comp search books and just do solds, and then actually do highest first and look that way. That's your best bet, to spend some time doing that. 20 minutes a day, every day of the week. Eventually you're going to remember what's what. I'm telling you, that's the only way I learn. Just this minute I sold a postcard. My sleeves have not come in the mail yet.
Annie told her about the plastic sandwich bag.
Yeah, if you use a sandwich bag, cut off the zipper side of it if you're doing it, or if it's the kind that's fold over. I always cut off before we got them. This was years ago too, but postcard wise, that's what you can seal them into. Annie's a good one on that one, Annie.
Yeah, definitely.
I buy the. You want to slide that? See on that box that says eBay? Yeah, I buy them in 5,000 and 10,000 quantity, depending on what the price is. So just bring the whole box up here. I know it's a little heavy, but I just want to show them the quantity. This is the quantity that I buy them in. This is it's more than a full box of them. I think these come in 1,000 count, but I buy them. This one just came in too. We've already used 1, 2, 3.
And I need some more.
And she needs some more. Yeah, probably I've already done like 3 packs this week since these have come in out of here. So that's 300 card sleeves we've used just this week. So, I do sell a lot, but once you get into this, you're going to realize that you're spending more money when you buy 100 or even 1,000 at a time. As I said, I buy like 10,000 nowadays on those. Like,
the dog needs
to go
outside.
She can take care of the dogs. Like on most things, I buy them in quantity. Like in boxes, I'll buy a pallet with two other buyers at the same time. Buy them in quantity once you get into this. Like, hang on. Dividers. Now I buy these in quantity as well too. I buy 2,000 of these at a time. Probably every 2 or 3 months I go through 2,000 of these or so on these dividers. So, you know, buy them when you can. If you're going to do a lot of postcards and paper items of any kind, this is what you want to help separate them. Now, I use the Walmart bins usually, and I'll actually trim these down a little bit for the Walmart bins. Now, if you're going to store them, I know a lot of people are going to tell you that they have Rubbermaid and these other bins that are taller. They are taller, and yes, these cards will fit in there not trimmed, but then I can't fit as many of these on my shelf. So we don't use these because I can fit more in here. It takes a little more time to trim down these cards to fit on the smaller size totes. This is just like an insider secret here. You can see the drastic difference in the box. I fit 2 more of these boxes on a shelf because of that. And I can't fit, well, yeah, I don't think I can fit many more cards in the 2 sizes of boxes, but it helps eliminate space on my shelf. And on certain shelves, I can stack these up 3 high with these as opposed to only 2 high on one of the taller containers. So that's a lesson learned for me because I work in small spaces, and we had a small space. We had one of these shelves in our bedroom when we first started. So, you know, whatever you can do in the aspect like this, you do. You buy them in bulk once you started to get to a certain point. Just like the sleeves, as I said, I've got links to where I buy my sleeves from down in the description here. I doubt you will find any cheaper ones that are good quality. I only buy 2 mil. And again, I do buy them in quantity. So whatever it is, the dividers have been a godsend. We used to put paper and cardboard. The investment on these is well worth it. These cost, I think it's like $20 a thousand of them. And again, I have a link to these. These are hard to come by, believe it or not. I've tried to get these straight from the manufacturer in a box. And literally I'm waiting on a response now because I'd love to be able to buy like a 5,000 count box of these, just because we're ramping up paper as well, because again, it's small. And once we cross list it, it's going to expand my business drastically, because again, I don't have much paper cross listed, only because I would have to take it down manually without that third-party app. So third-party apps, way to go. It's going to have some growing pains if you're just starting off. Sellbrite's key, and again, I'll cross the Sellbrite just one more time here. Sellbrite only charges you for what you sell, for your actually orders sold. All the other ones I looked at charge you for how many listings you have, whether you sell them or not. So if you're just learning, you're going to pay more for the other ones, the other third-party apps, than you would with Sellbrite. Sellbrite's been around for like a decade too, so they're well established, and GoDaddy just bought them. So there's many factors going for it. So Sellbrite should be improving more than anything else because of the GoDaddy tie-in. So anyway, I think it's GoDaddy or whatever the financial one is. I'm pretty sure it's GoDaddy. Let's see here. Do life insurance policies sell? Well, I have one from 1932 for 17. That kind of stuff, no, not very much at all. Unless it's pre-1900. I have not had much luck with it. The only other thing you might find is sometimes there might be an autograph in it. Now, I think his name is John Dyer or Dreyer. He was the founder of Metropolitan Life, I do believe. And he was also a U.S. Senator. Now, I've got several of his autographs that were on some of the early policies. And as a autograph, it was worth money. So look into that. There's people in the insurance industry that are fairly famous. I think it's John Dreyer. He was a U.S. Senator and founder of Metropolitan Insurance, I believe is what it was. So hopefully that answers that, Jaded Diva on here. Let's see here. Yeah, eBay, Duncan. eBay will find or continue to find ways to get money from sellers. Eventually, it's going to be too difficult to profit. So I say, spread out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just do eBay these days. Same reason that you can't, relist your items and try and get push on it. eBay is trying to have all their listings show up on Google. So The only way to get more appeal and more searchability is to have those same items on 4 different sites. So if one of your sites isn't actually pulling you up on a Google search, or you're not ranking very well, one of the other sites might for that exact same item. Again, a video is going up tonight that's going to address that specifically with facts. Too many people tell me that, you know, this person canceled a listing and then did self-similar, and boom, it sold really quick. There's no science whatsoever behind that. I only base my stuff on data, key data based on multiple things put together. So again, there's no benefit other than you're going to rank a little higher on newly listed, only if that person is searching for a newly listed item. But you're going to lose the majority, because again, almost 60% of every search that goes for any item you look for nowadays starts at a Google search. These are numbers not just from Google, even Amazon says that. So, you know, believe what you want. Those numbers come from sites that actually are paid just to come up with those data based on surveys and all of these other information. I think their error rate's less than 3%, which these national surveys and stuff like that, that's a very good percentage error rate. It may not even be that high. So I trust data. You know, it's never done me wrong. And all of my business decisions are based on data just like that. So again, the video is going to be up tonight. You know, you can be a naysayer and say, you know, adjusting or just going in and editing your listings is going to bump you up. eBay's algorithm is way smarter than doing stuff like that. There's nothing to base a sale on, even if you did sell something after doing that, because it could have sold whether you did that or not. You have no way to know. That's why for scientific studies or any type of study, you have to have a baseline. That's why, like when they're doing a pill or a study on a new medication, they give some folks a placebo of that same medicine. So no one knows who's getting the placebo, so they can judge whether it's actually working, you know, or not. They have a baseline to judge it with. You have to have a baseline when you do these tests. I've talked about it before. I usually get hate when I talk about that, but that's the only way to know if you're doing something, if it's actually doing something because of what you've done. Cause and effect. Causality doesn't mean, you know, what most people think it does, you know. There's more to it than that. You have to judge it against something to prove that it's actually doing something. The video that I have up is gonna address that. As I said, it's going up tonight still. It's already been done. Let's see here. Did I miss something? Let me slide down a little bit here. If I don't lose it. Let's see here. I just listed a big rubber 1986 Hulk Hogan. Yeah, Titan brands. That's the one. Yeah, that's the exact one. We have a couple of those here. John Jones. Oh, neat. I have one of those small Maximilians somewhere in my old toys from when I was a kid. My parents didn't make a lot of money, so I never had all the really cool toys until I was older. But I've got the big one. It's a big Maximilian. It's like 12 inches or so. If you didn't know, they made 12-inch black hole figures too. So they're Migos. Now, I don't think they're 12-inch. I think he's like 10, and that might be the highest one. Migos aren't quite 12 inches for the most part. Tell them the truth, Don. You got me secretly working on the back of the shed. No sheds here. I just sold an antique dinner plate for $300. I got out of a recent storage unit, almost tossed it, but checked it out, and it was surprised at the few comps on eBay. Look up everything. Yeah, if you don't know or you're having a clue on something, look it up. I look up everything. I won't even buy anything, even if it's a couple dollars, unless I know that I'm going to get something out of the lot. I'm going to look it up. Like sheet music. I don't waste my money on sheet music, because if you look it up, you're going to be able to tell pretty quickly anyway. So I've been to Windsor many times, just over to Detroit, over the bridge. Hee Haw, yeah, I've watched Hee Haw in my day too. Rusted Raccoon, I'm listing postcards right this moment, auction style, on search about thousands, and I'm just weighing them out at 14 ounces, putting in lots. Not my thing. Yeah, I personally don't do it. I list them individually, and I will look them up. A lot of people who try to get into postcards, no disrespect to you at all, Rusted Raccoon. There's no right or wrong way. It's whatever works for you. So again, not a criticizing whatsoever. I will look those up though. If you find like 10,000 postcards or something like that, and they're unsearched for sure, and you get them from like an estate sale or something, look them all up. You could run into some cards that are worth hundreds of dollars. If you do them as an auction, though, the right person may not be on and it may only go for 10 bucks. I learned that lesson too many times in the past. So I don't list postcards at an auction. So again, whatever works for you is fine, but I would never personally do that or recommend it, only because of that factor. So I've talked about pricing and even the researching. When you do comps, the comps always don't tell you the whole figure, the whole picture on that kind of stuff too. There's more to pricing than just looking at comps. And I went into this in detail on Patreon, and there's a video up here as well too, from probably 3-4 months ago here on YouTube that I talk about that a little bit too. So I would actually look up everyone. If I buy a bunch of postcards and they're vintage 1910 or so, I'm going to run into some that are 50 or 60 bucks a piece, and they're not going to sell the first week I put them up for sure. I sold a $50 well, it was $57.50 just the other day, and the postcard had been up for 9 months. Now, again, why would you want to run something for 9 months like that? I've sold stuff that have been up for 2 or 3 years. It's 5 cents a month to list that item. I don't look at it so much either that I'm spending the money to do it. I look at it for totals. I look at it at the end of the year. The end of the year, I'm still making 80% profit after fees, taxes, labor, everything, even the cost of the item, because I pay so little. You can believe it or not, but that's an honest figure. Sometimes it's a little higher than that. 82%, I think, is where we've maxed out. So if I sell $1,000 worth of merchandise, 800 of that I keep after all my fees. That's after PayPal and the whole works. No exaggeration. Again, that's just a figure that I've got that sticks with me. I've dropped down below 80 once or twice here and there too. Back in the day, I'll give you a quick old story. When he first started selling on eBay, I'm talking 20 plus years ago when eBay first started out there, I could pretty much set my clock. If I listed 25 items, I usually got 125 bucks out of that. So if I listed 100 items, I'm 500 bucks in. That's usually about the ratio. Of course, I've looked up the items and they were better items and things like that too. But you get these ratios. I've got an average daily sales. I've got an average daily expense. I do this every day. I do projections. And again, I got videos on how to do that. The projections really honestly help. There's more to just listing a bunch of stuff and watching it sell and looking at the end of the month. You've got to keep track to know when your sales are plummeting or something's going on to be able to address them before it gets too bad. I've seen people personally not look at their sales enough, and at the end of the month, oh my God, I'm screwed. I don't have enough coming in. I'm not going to make my bills. That's something you could have known ahead of time and alleviated the worry. Worked some more hours. When we didn't have enough coming in when we first started full time, I just worked a lot of hours. It meant, I would source 8 hours in the day, and sometimes I might list for 6 hours at night on top of that. That's what you got to do. I'm not saying I wanted to do it. I'm not saying it was fun. I'm not saying it was enjoyable, but that's what I did because I wanted the end result. I don't look at what's going on now. I look at what's at the end of the road. That's why all these bumps and these growing pains we're having to do this, because I'm spread out pretty thin right now. We've got, a lot of stuff going on. I got employees, and most of the employees know Sellbrite now as well, and they know Amazon and stuff like that too. But there's a lot of stuff going on. That's why I say project management classes for folks who have employees is a good thing for you, especially if you're on different sites and platforms and stuff. Project management will help you organize that. And there's software for that where you can put in employee names and what you want done here and stuff like that. It's a help for many people if it's not too tedious for you. I like Excel. This is similar to like an Excel basic. So if you don't like Excel, you probably wouldn't like project management, laying out, schedules and things like that too. You got to watch out for creep and all these other aspects of project management, which means things are taking longer and taking up time. They're creeping into another area where they shouldn't be. There's a lot to project management. It's a 4-month class. It's a 3 credit hour, 4-month college class. It's not a joke. It's something that does help people. Let me see here. Flipping goodies. Going to a estate sale tomorrow. I can see in the pictures they have at least 50 Mad magazines. What is the max per unit would you pay? It depends on how old they are. Mad magazines don't sell for a ton of money. There's only specific issues that sell for a lot of money. I've got like 75 or 80 here right this minute sitting over here. I bought for 20 bucks. If they're newer, they don't go for a ton of money each. Those would be something I would sell in a couple of lots. I would probably list them in, say, 10 or so lots a piece, maybe $34.50 for 10 of them. It depends on the year, though, specifically. The ones you want are the comic book sized ones too. Now there's a whole big story on this. I've actually got a video coming out next week it's gonna be called a pre-code horror story, and it's gonna be talking about this whole aspect of it. Mad Magazine switched, or Mad Comics, I should say, switched from being a comic because this happened in, I think it was 1954. Mad #1 came out, and that comic was actually a comic book size, issued with comic books and stuff, but it had stuff that would have violated the actual comic code. So they actually upped it to a magazine size to avoid having to edit their content. True story. You can look that up. I've been into this stuff. I collected Mad. I'm big into comic books. We do sell comic books constantly. You may not see them, or I may not share them as much because there's certain issues that I'm not going to just call out the information on too. So, you know, you can't give away everything and expect to still be able to find stuff too. So most people can figure it out by looking. So again, I've told you how to look up pretty much anything, but you have to know the years on these. Cover price is a key factor. 25-cent covers or less in Mad magazine. Cracked will sell as well too, but if they're newer, like Star Wars era and stuff like that, you might get a few bucks still for them, but those are mostly lot items I sell. You got to realize and be able to understand which items are better to sell as a lot versus which ones you can get some money for and let them ride. You know, I'm not going to hold on to a Mad magazine that I might get 10 bucks for a year if that's the max price, for the most part. You know, and sometimes these days we'll pull items down and we'll put them into a lot. We'll use one of the listings instead of pulling that one listing down, add some photos in, and just use that as like a lot listing. That way we don't waste a listing too. There's nothing wrong with that. eBay doesn't say anything about, you know, not being able to do that. We're not violating anything. We've ended other listings too to do that. So again, years is the most important thing. How old are they? What condition are they in? Double check to make sure the back covers too aren't folded, because some of the back covers on those are made to fold and it makes a different picture when you do that. And sometimes there's cutouts in some of those. There's a couple issues that actually have the first issue of Mad embedded into it, and there's also some that have stamps and postcards in them. Sometimes those are gone and they're not worth as much. I think there's like 3 issues of Mad magazine that have the first 3 issues of Mad comics in them. Again, it's the same series, the same thing. They just change size and format to avoid being edited by the code. American, I don't remember what it's called, comic book code or whatever it is. You'll see them. So when you see like comic books listings, sometimes they'll put pre-code in it where they wouldn't be allowed to show certain things. Bare-chested people, women, or bondage scenes or hypodermic needles are banned on covers. Now there's some you'll see like hypodermic needle on a cover, and there's a Detective Comics. I think it's like in the maybe issues in the 70s section. We're talking still 40s and stuff that have hypodermic needles on them and stuff. Or they would ban racial insensitive material to wording and such forth like that, just like eBay does as well too. So anyway. House of Treasures. Well, thank you very kindly. Thank you as well, Brown Bushman, for that on our son. Yeah, Carl's asking too, can you tell the years? That it's key to know how old they are. Jameson's Closet. What state? I'm in Ohio. Yes, Carl's got it. Carl used to live in Ohio too. He's in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. I just heard him say University of Michigan. My son has ventricular bigeminy, and we have to go to a specialist, and the only one around here within a few hundred miles from where we live is a electrophysiologist, a pediatric electrophysiologist, and he's actually at the University of Michigan. So that's why I brought it up. My father was born in Saginaw, and we've been all over. We had a cottage in I can't think of the name of the place. I'll think about it again after I'm on the phone. I haven't been there, or after I'm offline. I haven't been there in years. We had a cottage up in it's near the upper Lewiston, Michigan. That's where we have a cottage at. They inherited my parents inherited it from one of their parents. What up, Chance? Hello, folks. I love your bolo. Well, thank you. I found a spoon dish right after I watched that video. Well, thank you. Good to hear. Good to hear that I helped you. Pugs are Banks, Scotties, Yorkies, and sometimes wiener dogs. Yep. Some of the wiener dogs will sell as well too. There's some salt and pepper shakers that are long that are wiener dogs. I sell them. They don't go for a ton of money, but they usually sell. Some of the hunting dogs, like a blue tick, does sell too. Can't tell from the pictures on the age. Yeah, you're going to have to judge by the age. Just look up a few while you're there. I don't care if people see me look up anything anymore these days because everybody does it. Thanks for babysitting my grandmother. Those 20s and 30s Scotty's Xmas cards are really nice. Yes, they are. I fully agree. As I said, I got some here just the other day, and they're not all cutouts, but the Scotty ones are awesome. Those usually do sell. Yeah, I love animals, so I can't complain about animals. Animals always have been a pleasant experience with them. Each his own. Nothing wrong if that's what you don't like. Poodles do well. I am sure French poodle dogs. Yeah, I'm sure they would too, Annie. If you want to know my eBay name, just watch any one of my what's sold on eBay videos. Any one of them, I fully show it in there. I don't usually type it out. I don't want it to be tied to any searches or anything like that, but it's fully available. You can see it in every one of my videos. If you're in my Facebook group, there is a link to items that I'm selling on that page in Facebook. So you can just instantly click from my Facebook page. It's not a secret, but there are some things that people can, harass you with if you post it in certain places. So I don't post them in every specific spot. So just FYI. Again, I'm the Auction Professor on Patreon, on Instagram, and on Facebook as well too. And I actually have a business Auction Professor page on Facebook as well as a group page on Facebook too. Let's see here. Yeah, he's talking about the Mad magazines again. Shakey's. I would imagine you're talking about Shakey's Pizza. If that's what you're talking about, I do remember that as well too. Close the door before.
What the heck?
You got something in front. I'm live, Tim.
It was closed. I meant to turn off.
I know, that's fine. My son just came in. Sorry, folks. But I used to go to Shakey's out here, and King Cole's Pizza used to be another one, but Shakey's used to play the Monkees on like Wednesday night, and my parents always used to take us there on that night. And I have fond memories of the giant Shakey's cups, as well as the Godfather's pizza cups, and watching the Monkees on TV. And then years later, we actually met and talked with Davy Jones for quite some time. He actually sang and danced for us at Disney World on a monorail. Well, off the monorail, but anyway. Yeah, team. I've never had it that I know of. I remember it around back in the day, but I've never had it. Yeah, I hate spiders. Thanks, Duncan, for bringing up spiders. Yeah, we don't do spiders. Houghton, I bought a scrapbook filled with 200 old Hallmark cards and others, paid $28 for the book, and so far sold over 200 worth. That kind of stuff is easy money. You got to get the right ones, early ones. Christmas and Halloween items like that sell the best. So Valentine's will sell, early Valentine's will sell, but you can sell later Christmas and Halloween for still good money. Newer Valentines don't sell. So you want Valentines that are pre-50 for the most part. 1920s Valentines sell good. Victorian, 1870s, and even before that, Valentines sell very well. We had one from 1820, and we sold that one for like $600 for a Valentine's card a few years back. It's the only one we ever had like that. No, Duncan. No spiders. Yeah, you just have to watch out for the issues, the years that they are. Yeah, 52, I think, was the first year, because I know 54, the code came out, and that's when they changed the size of Mad Magazine. So 52 would probably be like the first issue or two, I would guess. Hey, Sue, how are you doing? Sue's got a pretty good channel out there if you haven't had a chance to check that out. You have 1936. Now that's a late one for that. That's like way late. That's like you're probably talking like 20th printing on something like that. I'm not saying it wouldn't sell, but that's way back into there. Okay, my feed just disappeared. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Sue, me and the wife did put in a car engine. Honest to God, it was in a Hyundai. Did it from a book. I literally sat there, and when we took off all the wiring and the plugs in the engine, I taped a piece of paper, and I actually had the book there so I could label where it went. and where it went on the engine, where it came off on the engine. I put little labels on that. So when it went back in, I didn't have to fight as much. Of course, there's a main electrical harness on an engine, and it all spreads out from there. So it was fairly easy once you disconnect everything. But I did have to remove the distributor a couple of times to get it lined up right. That was the only thing. I couldn't figure out the top dead center on the stroke. Snakes and lizards. Yeah, when we lived in Florida, we used to see snakes and lizards. I have seen many alligators, including on Disney property. Hey, John, Nevermore Antiques. John's got a nice channel, too. He just started his own antique store, so rather interesting. I do watch some of his videos as well if you get a chance. Sold 7 antique books today. Yeah, some of those go in spurts as well, I think, sometimes. If they're from the same series, usually I'll sell them all together. Or somebody might buy like all but 1 or 2 because he has those 2 and he wants the rest of them. I do well in antique books. I don't sell them every single day of the week, antique books, because that's not a key focus on mine, just because I can get paper cheaper and it takes up less space. Had I, not been able to get paper, I'd probably be selling bigger items like that. So, it's what you can make of it. Again, I never started off to sell what I'm selling now at all. I went to college, I earned a master's. I expected to actually have a job working for somebody. But I started to do this when I couldn't find a job, and we ended up making more money than the job offers that started to roll in. So here I am. And honestly, this is the most I've ever made in my entire life. I'm not trying to brag. This is just the best. This is me. This is what I am. This is what I've turned into. And this is literally the best thing that's ever happened to us as a family in general. I get to be with my family for once. But anyway. Let's see here. I'm a new subscriber, Sandor Garcia. How are you doing? I've been binging your videos for the last month and a half. I'm happy to have found your channel. Well, thank you very kindly. I've got another bolo. There's going to be a video tonight still and a bolo tomorrow. I don't know which video I'll put up Saturday, but I've got, like, as I said, there's like 8 videos that I've had shot. You might see my hair a little different because one of them or 2 of them are older videos, but anyway. Sometimes I'll do a video and I just won't like it. So, at the end, it's just something wrong with it. I'm picky like that. I'll do artwork sometimes, like a big painting or an illustration, and I won't like it, and I won't let the wife do anything with it sometimes. I've tore up stuff like that or thrown them away just because I don't like it. And people say that's weird, but I guess ADD and OCD and all that stuff kind of ties in with that. But who is SpongeBob? Yeah, I was sorry that the actual creator of SpongeBob did pass away, if you didn't know that. Yeah, I do watch Rick and Morty. I found a new show the other day. It's called The Life and Times of Tim. And it's a HBO cartoon, which I was quite surprised. It was rather interesting. My son is Tim, the one who just walked in, and we call him the same nickname. And the clothing and stuff this Tim is wearing in here reminds me of when my son was younger. So anyway, it's an adult comedy cartoon. Never heard of it. Found it on Amazon one day. I actually paid for it. We watched a 30-minute preview thing, and I actually paid for it, which I don't do very often, but I figured, what the heck. Hoffman, I was in a dirt cheap in Gulfport back in 2015. Hit it big in the Gulfport Goodwill. Yeah, we were lucky there. Gulfport Goodwill is pretty much dead. It's all new, been totally scrapped out. There wasn't much there. We were actually in the Goodwill in Gulfport in December. Most of the stuff's gone since the hurricane. He's joking, Annie, I'm sure. Teresa Bookstaver. Biblio and A Books. Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 sites. A Books is the one that I was thinking about, as well as the other one Annie was talking about. Welcome, Kenny. Oh, thank you, Kenny. Glad to have you. Looks like we're getting caught up for once. Nope, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not. My feed's just way over there. Well, thank you very kindly, Sandora Garcia. I appreciate the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. I think you asked on the record. Am I not mistaken? I believe that is you. I don't answer many things on YouTube very often these days, just because I don't have time. Not because I don't want to, just because I don't have time. But I do believe I did answer yours because I didn't want you thinking I was ignoring selling an item. Anyway. Welcome. And again, appreciate the $2 super chat there. Yeah, I'm lost on my feed again. It just disappeared. So let's see if I can figure out where we're at. I think I'm right here. Yeah, you guys are some of the few doing these videos who don't pass up vinyl. I respect that. You know your stuff. I would love to check out your collection, maybe buy a few into jazz funk. I've got all of that. Blue Notes are what I buy the most of or try to buy. Pacific Jazz is okay as well too. But Blue Notes are literally the thing. If you don't know what a Blue Note is, look it up. And I'm talking the original street address too, the original ones, the thick micro grooves and the whole works. There's many other ones, labels, but Blue Note's what I strive to buy. And again, if you don't know what a Blue Note is, type in Blue Note LP on eBay and look at the comps. Your jaw should drop if you don't know what that is. Sindora, I'm sure you know what Pop Psych is, and Craig Moyer and the whole works if you're into jazz and such forth. So I am big into records. We talked about the highest item I've ever sold in the past. I've sold some things in my top 10 sales. Many of those are records. We've sold single 45s for $4,000 or $5,000 before, almost 5,000. I think 4,700 was the highest 45 I've sold, and that's a pretty high up one there too. So I do love records. There's always a record turntable. There's 2 in this room alone. I actually have a Victrola that you wind up that I still use, believe it or not. I had to hunt down the receiver, or I think it's not, I think it's the reproducer it's called. I had to hunt down a new one for it. And this is a British version I used. It was the rounded one. They take up less space. It's got a nice brass horn to it as well too. Maria is asking Rusted Raccoon. eBay, yeah, I figured eBay. Oh, Book Scout. Okay, Annie, I did not know that. I thought that was one of the other apps for scanning books. In fact, why don't I write that one down and look into that there too? Maybe it's one I've actually used and just don't remember. Again, I used to, if it's been around for 5 or 6 years, I probably looked into it too in the past. Book Scouter. We used to have the scanning app that we paid for a monthly fee for, and it was well worth it, let me tell you. Yeah, I'm never scared off on books that don't have a barcode. I usually make more money on those because most people just pass them up. They don't want to spend the time to look them up. Hey, well, thank you, Carl. I really appreciate that. Thank you very kindly for the $5 super chat. By the way, I finally got to send offers to Watchers functionality and love it. Been so busy recently. Yeah, I have 836 that I can send offers to right this second. I don't know if I'll go through those for another couple days. I've got, in the store I share with you, we dropped down to almost 20,000, but we've listed 3,000 new items in the last, I think, 2 weeks or so. So I'm trying to build it back up. So when we go to cross list, we have a bigger overall standpoint. When we hit cross list, if my estimates are right, we'll do it the first week of third quarter is when I anticipate going and listing all these crossing. I may do it sooner than that, but at that point, we will probably have 75,000 items up on eBay is my goal, between the stores that we have, of course. But thank you very kindly again, Carl, for that. I really appreciate it. Let me see if it will do it without losing it. It's hard sourcing in Miami, living in a city state that relatives knew prospectively. It's relatively new prospectively. Love to live somewhere in New England. You know, I've been more or luckier up here. Mississippi, I did pretty well, and even in Alabama. In Florida, we did source, and I found some records in Florida too. Not as many, but up here is probably the best place just because I've got the Motor City here, and I do a lot of 45, Northern Soul 45s. Now, you're talking about, let me go back up what you just said on the comments. Hang on, don't want to miss it. Jazz, funk, and soul are, you either into it or you're not, and you get it. I like Northern Soul, and I'm sure Sandor knows Northern Soul if he's that much into it. Northern Soul goes to England. Almost every one of my 45s goes to England. As I said, I do a mail order business on the side occasionally. About once a month, I send a list out of 45s to several people in England. I don't take new people on that list just because they're all Northern Soul, and it's the same people I've been dealing with forever. I never worry about money. Sometimes I send a record out before the payment shows up with these guys. That's how much I trust some of these folks in England. Again, I've met a couple of them in real life. I've met them in person. They flew here for something else, and we arranged a meeting, and they bought some records in person and gave me thousands in cash for the records. So You know, I trust some people and I do stuff like that. Just like when I accept payments, some people I allow to pay at the end of the month. They'll buy stuff for 30 days, and at the end of the month, they'll pay me all at once. Over 30 days, eBay won't allow you to combine them into one invoice. So you got to watch out for that 30-day time frame, FYI. That's something you'll learn when you do this kind of stuff, that eBay has a time limit on combining items. If you miss the time limit, then you just have to add it into the actual shipping cost total, which is all I do when that happens. It's happened once or twice. Let's go down here and get some more questions. We're running to the end here. It's actually after 9, but I did start a few minutes late. I'll just answer a few more questions and then we'll call it night for tonight. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, it's farther south in Miami. I could tell you for sure you'll have better luck sourcing. It's hard. Well, you're in Miami. That's kind of weird. And when we went down to Miami, I did find a lot of soul records down in that section. We've been down to Alligator Alley and went down to Key West and spent, you know, a couple of weeks and, you know, not weeks, but a couple of weekends in Key West on 2 or 3 different occasions. So I have sourced in Miami. I don't like the traffic and I hated getting off at the wrong exit, but other than that, yeah, Marie, that's our dog. I know I'm behind as always. What bulk of your sourcing comes from storage auctions? Do you do any online storage auctions? I do not do online storage auctions. I buy in person for the most part, most of the big bulk that I do. The storage auction that you were talking about with the video with, I think I got like almost 9,000 LPs out of that one, just LPs. I had an in on that. I knew the records were going to be at a specific spot, so I was able to buy them that way. So, you know, it helps to converse and be friendly with big, you know, businesses that resell, especially like auctions and stuff like that. I've had great luck with old jukebox distributors. Usually there's big bulk that I can buy. You're going to probably figure out you're going to get less good records, but you'll get a better chance on getting some that way too. And you usually pay less when I buy them that way too. So at least that's with records for the most part. I don't do any, as I said, any of the online. I only buy big bulk records like that if I can look through and at least see there's going to be enough there to make my money. Homestead, yeah, I've been in that area as well too. Oh, he's in Tampa. Yeah, there's a big one. I've been to the Tampa flea markets as well too. I've set up there once or twice before. Yeah, they sort of use the litter pan. And yeah, I get you on that one too. You got to train them when they're really young. Yeah, there's one Rusted Raccoon of I want to say it really is the stand. That's a paperback edition. I'm almost sure that was it. I'll have to look into it. Maybe it's not the stand, but I want to say it starts with an S. One of Stephen King's books, the first edition, is a paperback, and I'm sure that's the case because I've had it before. I'll have to look into that. Just now you're racking my brain on what that is. I will spend 2 hours plus at a state looking at books that don't have barcodes. Fun, but a lot of it's none of this is going to be easy, Marie. I'm telling you that right now. I am very successful though at if I go to a estate sale that has a ton of books at it. Again, I'm not going to make a fortune on them. I may get 50 books only worth 10, 15 bucks a piece, but that's a pretty good chunk all at one spot. You know, you're making hundreds of dollars for an hour or two worth of work in my book. I know you got to list them and all that kind of stuff, but for us, I've got listers. I don't go the route most people do, and we've got a large amount of listers. I got 9 people here. All of them can't work again. That's why we're expanding at the same time. I want everybody to be able to work at the same time. I'm trying to lessen my hours so I can have everybody working together instead of like staggering shifts and things like that. Anyway, let's just get to 1 or 2 more questions here. Need to make my way up to Renninger's flea market. I used to go to Renninger's all the time. It's the once a month, and it's in Mount Dora. We also went to the Mount Dora flea markets on Monday morning at 4 a.m. I used to set up there for almost 2 years on and off at Mount Dora at Webster's. Webster's. Probably confusing. I think Webster's is not at Mount Dora, is it? It's been so long. Again, it's been 20 years since I've done that. Bunnies are incapable of being grumpy. No, I've seen some bunnies like that too. In fact, Marky, my wife, had a couple pet rabbits for a long time. Rusty was one of the names of them. I don't have to look up paper old stuff these days. I'm an expert. They call me eBay master. Yeah, I don't look up most paper these days as well. Once in a while, even you, I know you've asked about stamps once or twice. I have to ask a few things. There's a few areas that you're just never going to run into. Photo-wise, you can show me a photo and I'll tell you pretty much when it was made, taken, a rough value on anyone without looking it up. Postcards, basically the same thing. Victorian cards, same thing basically. Greeting cards, Christmas cards, military paper of any type. I'm very good on military paper. Any military I'm very good at. My father was in the military. I'm a military brat at one point too. So, you know, my father was actually stationed at Fort Knox at one point even. I already know title and price once I have the item. Yeah, same here. I just price. I never worry. I never look up titles on any of the vintage stuff. I may if I get something new on an RA item or something, use a site or something to get the best keyword just to be lazy. But paper stuff, I always know what to put on. When you've done paper or a specific niche, whatever the niche is, for a long time, you're eventually going to know exactly what to title everything at. And I'm not exaggerating. I can any piece of paper, I can tell you the best title, and I can tell you what words will sell it. Like certain things in the item, like people like frogs, where there's a card with a frog and you list that. There's people who collect penny farthings, anything with a penny farthing in it. Right now, I've got a gentleman who buys anything that's an ice cream and oyster bar or a restaurant from, say, pre-1900. Any card, advertising, or anything like that. Oysters and ice cream were always sold together because it took refrigeration. And instead of just trying to sell one item, most Victorian area or most businesses in general that sold ice cream usually had oysters on the place as well too. It's something you will find all the time. Just like most funeral directors or morticians back in the day did actual furniture store. So they do furniture in the front and they'd be an undertaker in the back because they actually made some of the actual coffins. So furniture equipment was there, so they actually made furniture as well, and they'd line the coffins and all that kind of stuff. So when you run into advertisements, you usually see undertaker and furniture on the same ones. Once in a while, you run into one that maybe says dentistry and undertaker, believe it or not. Those go for some good money. Anything that says stuff like that, because it's not something you wouldn't want to go to a dentist and know that he was an undertaker in case he did something wrong. Because back in the day, you didn't need to be a doctor to be a dentist. You could just get the tools and be a dentist. So anyway, as scary as that sounds, that's true. Yeah, and Annie says the same thing subconsciously. I pretty much do the same thing too. I never worry. And people ask me all the time, and I'm always happy to help out if somebody needs a wording or want to know what a title is. Obviously, I can't respond to most of the ones on YouTube and stuff, but like in Patreon, I'm very good at answering and giving you some questions and answers. You sounds like you are too, Duncan, there as well. Yeah, Michelle with one L. That's the way I buy them. Yeah, who cares what they think and stare at you, honestly, Marie. That's my opinion. Welcome, Marikex. I'm a little late. We're almost done for the day. You're probably on a little while, and I'm probably really behind on answering questions. Let's see here. Let's just get a couple more. I know we're real late, and I know I didn't get to all of them. That's typical with me, but I do try to answer every question. I know people on other feeds will bounce around to get down to the bottom of the feed. I would rather answer questions. Those folks that stay out or those folks who get on early get their questions answered. Again, I'm not trying to, be rude or crude or anything about that. I just literally try to answer every question. Again, I've got ADD and OCD, and for me, I got to start and go down to the bottom. That's just the way I've got to do it. So. Thank you, Michelle, as well. And you're welcome, Jada Diva. Lewis and Riley's Treasures, welcome. KFC. Yeah, we don't have a KFC up around here anymore. I used to like Long John Silver's, but they've changed their food so drastically. I used to eat Popeyes when they had crawfish, but we got sick last time. I'll never go back there again. Hoosiers Pick and Flip. I recently found a U.S. Navy guidebook for the Mekong Delta, issued 1970 or 1967 first edition. It was owned by a veteran who served on patrol boat filled with maps issued by Navy Department. I would say very high on that one. If it is actually the original government issue one, I might honestly put like 500 on something like that, especially the Mekong Delta, if that's actually what it is and it's an original. Now, look on the inside of the book to make sure it's not a reprint or a later one, but I don't think they reprinted anything with the Mekong Delta if it says that in the title. That would be like one of the rarest books I have seen from the Vietnam War, if that is what it is. The maps may not have been issued with the book, too, if they're just stuffed in there, so they could sell better on their own. Can you explain sales ranking when sourcing? It depends on if you're talking about Amazon or eBay. Amazon, you want a low ranking. Like certain items I won't buy if the ranking's over 100,000 or 90,000 or 5,000. It depends on the category. Now, on eBay, there isn't really a thing called sales ranking, so to speak. They will rank you on their internal search, but again, eBay's actual search ranking for the site itself is getting less and less important, and a Google ranking is more and more important, as I said. So again, you really got to pay attention to that and not worry as much about, trying to relist your item and sell somewhere and canceling and trying to get, a bump up in the search rankings. The best ranking is the one that shows up on Google. That will far outweigh any other one. Again, good till canceled is put into place by eBay because that is where they're going. If you're not doing good till canceled, you'll never have a chance on it showing up in a Google search. And you're going to sell your items for more money if someone pulls it from a Google search versus just going into eBay for the most part, from what I see. I'm no longer upset with what I see going on. I do Google searches on my items a lot. And I've told you this, and I've talked about this for months now on that you need to do that. You need to do it from a wiped computer, one that doesn't have any what you want to call it, any caches or anything else like that, or any history. You want to do it from one that you have not been to eBay on, or do it on another laptop or something. Wipe everything out, clear out all your caches and your internet files, and search for your item there on a clean one that you're not logged in on, and see where you're ranking in places. See if you can find yourself in there. Those are the things that you want to do. I can tell you, if you've only had the item up for 30, even 60 days, chances are you're not going to find yourself in a Google search. A lot of items these days are turning to long tail items because of that search criteria. Let's pop down here. I'm going to have to edit here in just a second. We're way late. I have sold items that have been listed for 3 years. I call it an investment. Everything's an investment for us. Long tail, Rusted Raccoon, you're 100% right. Long tail, for me, is the way to go. When we first, the market's changed. When we first started, everything was in auction. I don't even think they had anything like good till canceled or any. I don't think they had anything other than auctions on eBay when I first started, if I remember. I think it was all auctions, everything. And slowly they added the other options in there. Auctions used to be the thing. They're not anymore at all. Nobody wants to wait. Everybody's impatient, just like, in the real world. That's the way it is. Just like people drive, they want to buy the same way. And I get it. I don't like bidding on auctions anymore. I usually forget, or get tied up and I can't be there the last minute. I'm not going to pay for a sniping service or any of that other junk. It's just not worth the hassle. I don't buy much online other than business and clothing for me, or art supplies anyway. So I just buy it outright. I'd rather go to, if it's like art supplies, I'll just go to Pearl and buy it offline for a little more, or buy a bin listing of some paintbrushes or something. And I just bought some real nice ones here. I might show something really unique. Just like pencils. There's certain pencils that I've got to use. And if I got to pay a little more just to get them and not have to argue and sit there and worry about getting them, I'll just do that. There's just some things that just aren't worth the hassle. Let's see here. eBay trouble, can't find my listings. We looked everywhere. All of your listings, Duncan? Let's see where we at. Yeah, let me cut it off here. It's getting later and later. I'm in Michigan, 20 minutes from now. I purchased 10,078s in Ann Arbor in end of September last year, actually. I get out that way once in a while. Yeah, Shakey's Pizza. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your questions again. I still see I got quite a few here that I did not get to. It's been over 2 hours. I'm beat. It's been a long day. So again, I'm going to call it quits for this evening. We should be back up with the normal show. With all luck, I will have a hardware encoder where we'll bypass Hangouts and all of these issues here real soon. So Have a good evening. Glad to have you on. Hopefully you learned something. If you haven't hit that like button down below, please hit the like button again. Have a good day or evening, I guess it should be at this point.